Do not adjust your television. It is finally happening. Xaiver Aguiar, Mike Testa on the screen together again. This is the Gurus. This is episode 1. We are so excited for you to join us. This is going to be about everything from sports. We're going to do some Big Brother at some point, I'm sure.
Yes,
some
we are.
Survivor. Drake's going to drop an album one day we're going to react to.
We have to react to
that. This is about literally everything that you can possibly imagine. We are the Gurus, and I'm so excited to be here. Mike, how are we doing tonight?
We're doing pretty good. I mean, you mentioned Survivor. I don't want to jump the gun, but I already know who wins the season, so I can't even. I now have to adapt how I talk about Survivor now. But I'm excited to join the Gurus. This is gonna be really fun.
Yeah, you are not spoiling that for me.
I'm not spoiling a single thing. Just don't look at comment sections on TikTok, please. Don't.
Okay, I'll try my best.
Yeah, don't do that.
And I'm going to try my best with our category today that I came up with. This is inspired from The Ringer, our idol Bill Simmons. He does stuff like this all the time. And what better pilot than to rock with this tonight? The NFL Kickoff Superlative Draft. Yes. So, Mike, you can do this either way. You're the co-host, so you get to choose. We can do this in order. You can just pick wherever you want to start. And we have some categories here today, and we're just going to kind of go through. We're going to draft who we think best fits the category. It's going to be a great time, and I'm excited for it. It's just a different way to kind of look at the start of the NFL season.
Yeah, so should we – I guess we can go in order with the 2024 dumpster fire team that'll somehow be in the playoff mix this season. That's our first award that is on the docket here. So do you want to start with this one, or should I go ahead and say mine? This was almost a layup.
Yeah, go ahead.
The Jacksonville Jaguars. Have we seen this division lately? I mean, you saw the AFC South right now, right?
It's horrific.
It's embarrassing. There's something to hate about every single one of these 4 teams right now. The Texans' offensive line is a disaster. Liam Cohen comes in. The defense for Jacksonville is still bad, but they make some additions on that side of the ball. Travis Hunter can play both ways. I like Jacksonville. We both still like Trevor Lawrence, I think, newly paid. Brian Thomas Jr., they got some weapons there. And Liam Cohen's going to come in a very wonky division. Heck, you can throw the Titans in here. I wouldn't mind anyone from the AFC South. Oh, I guess not the Colts. As like a dumpster fire. There was 3 dumpster fire teams in the AFC South last year. And any one of them could be trendy as far as being in the playoff mix, unless Houston wraps up the division by Thanksgiving, which I don't think will happen because of how terrible that offensive line is. I think the Jags are live. I mean, am I wrong about this? I think I'm high on Liam Cohen. I got some stock on the Jags offense.
I just don't know how good Trevor Lawrence is anymore. I really don't have any idea because at first it was easy to make the excuses. He came in with the Urban Meyer absolute circus clown fest.
Mulligan year.
And there was this kind of notion for a while that his offensive line was bad, which it was. And then it transformed to his weapons were bad, which they were. And then it turned into, the running backs, Travis Etienne isn't as efficient as many thought he would be coming out of Clemson. And now I kind of like the running back room. I know that's a little crazy. I'm kind of a Tank Bigsby guy. And I think Tuin could kind of be something. The weapons in particular, I think, upgraded dramatically in the offseason. Because outside of BTJ, now you have Hunter, who I think projects to be a better wide receiver as that wide receiver 2 playing off BTJ. I think I'm the world's #1 Jamie Brown fan. I think that guy's awesome. He's going to be their wide receiver.
They get him from Washington. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought he was kind of good when they called upon him last year, to be honest. And Parker Washington is still in the mix, and I know he's a fan favorite.
Yes. Brenton Strange. By the way, Brenton Strange, tight end screen, mastermind Liam Cohen. Watch out for Brenton Strange. I think he's probably better than Evan Ingram. Well, maybe not better than Evan Ingram.
He's stashed on a few of my dynasty teams.
Yeah, stashed
on I don't mind Jacksonville. I think the problem with Jacksonville for me is I don't think this defense has really improved enough for them to be serious. But if you're just talking about 9 or 10 wins at the end of the season, I could see it just by them outscoring people. If Lawrence is going to be good, it's going to happen this year, and I'll talk more about that coming up. But my pick was the Tennessee Titans.
Okay, we're both in the South at least. Okay, so we're on the same wavelength here. Someone's got to get wins in this division, right? We both agree with it. Someone's got to get some wins.
3-14 last year, and I think people look at that and think the entire roster is a dumpster fire, but I don't think that at all. I thought primarily the reason they finished with this record was they were 30th in EPA per pass, and I think all of that is contributed to how awful Will Levis was. who was literally a terrorist under center for the entire season. He was so destructive. I don't think people understand how truly destructive Will Levis was. I think of the 14 losses, at least 4 were purely based off idiotic decisions of Will Levis alone within a moment or two in each game. He was that bad for this team. And I think the defense, it was fine on paper. It was on 20th in defensive EPA overall. And they have some guys like Jeff Simmons up front who I really enjoy.
Big time player.
Yeah, I think Snead will have a bounce back year. But I just think this team now with Ward coming in at QB, the talent is so much elevated between him and Levis that I think based off that alone, they have to get at least like 3 or 4 more wins. And I think no one's really had this conversation yet, and they won't because Miami looks awesome this year. But I think Miami, talent-wise, the college team was grossly overrated last year.
I was getting a little bit, wait, what are you talking about here?
Yes.
Miami.
And I think that because I think Ward got them out of trouble more times than not. And you think about how many games Miami kind of miraculously won last year. And I don't think Ward got enough credit for elevating the Hurricanes last year. And you know how I feel about Cristobal, Mike, and the audience may not, but I think Cristobal is a absolute nightmare game manager and routinely underexceeds with great rosters. But I really don't think the Hurricanes were that great last year. If you look at kind of the output of where that team ended up with a lot of the guys that came in, like his wide receiver 1 got cut from his pro team right now in Restrepo.
Yeah, Restrepo.
So I think if you just kind of look at what Ward was able to do, playing for a coach that notoriously underachieves consistently and was able to have such a ridiculous offensive output year, I think he comes in with apparently no hype, but everyone said he has no hype, so now he has hype. That's just kind of how that works.
Sure.
But I like his fit with Ridley, our guy Elik Ayamonor, who I will talk about later. I think Pollard's a decent back.
Watch out for Chigga. Chick's a nice tight end. Watch out for Chick.
Someone has to hype up Chigga. I think this team has enough. I'm not going to lie. I think this team has enough to be kind of frisky. And in this division, I just said that Ward can give them like 3 or 4 more wins. I think this division can give them 1 or 2 more on top of that. So all of a sudden, you're looking at a 9-win season, and you're in the playoff mix.
That's exactly what my point was. Not to go back to Jacksonville, but I don't think their defense has improved at all, but I don't think it has to be for them to just be in the mix. The superlative here is just in the mix. So in December, they're in the mix, and Jacksonville very well could be because this division sucks. It's terrible. And I don't think Houston got better over the offseason unless I'm missing something on the offensive line that just kind of just pops up out of nowhere. Is C.J. Stroud going to make the whole season healthy? If he doesn't, Jacksonville and Tennessee, it's a disaster in that division. The Colts are 2 free wins at this point in time, unless Daniel Jones is not the guy who fumbled 40 times in New York. Which I don't foresee that happening behind that offensive line. But, hey, maybe I'm wrong. I think Jacksonville and even Tennessee, I can throw Tennessee in there too because the roster isn't as bad as a 3-14 roster. Jacksonville's roster was not as bad as a 4-13 roster last year.
No, not at all.
Were as bad as their record indicated. Obviously, we had Mac Jones come in for some Jags games last year. That was fun. But overall, that team wasn't serious. I think they're better than that record indicates. The defense still sucks, but they don't have to be any good to be in the mix in the AFC South. I don't think the Texans will have this thing wrapped up by Thanksgiving. And if they don't, we talk about meaningful December football. Heck, the Jags are playing meaningful December football again, just by sheer virtue of the division stinks. So dumpster fire team last year, they should be much improved this year. Is both Jags and Titans, one of the two, I think for sure.
Yeah, I think if we're just hedging here, like I'd put a lot of money on the field in the AFC South. I just think one of those 2 teams emerges. Sorry, Indianapolis. I just don't think you have it. But one of Jacksonville or Tennessee will figure it out, in my opinion.
Sure. One of those 2. Just by virtue of the AFC South, unless the Texans are, better than what we think, which I don't think either of the Texans. No. Okay, so now should we go? Which one should we bounce around to next? I mean, we could go in order here. I kind of like the head coach being asked before. The head coach. It kind
of ties in. Go.
It kind of ties into what we were just talking about. The head coach that gets axed before Veterans Day is also on the superlatives here. I have Shane Steichen. This is another layup for me because there's not a lot of coaches really that would get axed. I'm looking at each division. I'm bouncing around AFC West. They have all 4 Super Bowl champion or college champion coaches in that division, so it won't be there. I'm looking in the NFC North. Those teams are all too good. I'm looking in the NFC South. I don't think the Panthers are so ridiculously unwell run to fire Dave Canales in year 2.
It'd be a Bryce Young referendum, not a Dave Canales.
It would not be a Dave Canales referendum, right? Because this is year 2 for Dave, and they said they'd be patient with him. So I'm trying to look around divisions. They just bring in the Saints just bring in Kellen Moore. So the bad teams won't fire their coaches. Stefanski won't get fired. So I'm looking. I'm like, okay, well, which one of these teams could actually fire their head coach before Veterans Day? Unfortunately, my team might be on this list. If we start out 1-5, I'm going to go Colts. I'm going to go Shane Steichen because I think this is a mess right now from the top down. And ultimately, he's given up on Anthony Richardson, which means probably for the better. I think we both agree that Anthony Richardson is not a guy that you want to get in bed with. But nonetheless, they've moved on. Daniel Jones. If Daniel Jones stinks, guess what? Shane Steichen goes down with him. It's kind of just a domino effect at this point. The Colts are terrible, which I think we all expect them to be. Shane Steichen, there's nowhere to hide at this point. You're in a bad division. If you can't pick up wins there, you're getting axed. Easy, said and done. I mean, the Colts are. I don't want to talk about the Colts too much, but I do have like 5 Colts on this superlatives list. So I might have to talk about them a little bit more. But the Colts are terrible.
Yeah, I'm going to zag on this one. I have Zach Taylor as my guy that could be axed before Veterans Day. And I test drove it, and I liked where I ended up because I think the problem with the Bengals is this defense is horrific, man. Like, it was bad. And you can blame whoever you want for that. But at the end of the day, when your corners are Dax Hill and Cam Taylor-Britt, what are you expecting to happen? And I think Zach Taylor has had some issues with game management throughout his career. But I thought for a lot of this tenure in Cincinnati, he's been kind of the scapegoat because I think it's easy when you have such a talented quarterback like Burrow and then you have the offensive wow guys like Chase and Higgins. And you have this city of Cincinnati that is so diehard to football that just simply cannot consistently admit that the infrastructure of that team is so flawed from the ownership down that you just have to find someone to blame for your star boy quarterback and his amazing weapons for not succeeding. And I think Taylor's been that guy throughout. And look, Taylor needs to make the playoffs this year. I don't think that's an understatement by any means. Colin Cowherd last month was pitching like Nick Saban to come in to take the Bengals job. That's how dire it's gotten in Bengals land for them to just want a change at head coach. And whether I agree with it or not, I think Taylor really is on the hot seat. And if they start out struggling again, I think there is a world where Cincinnati kind of cuts ties with him before the season ends as kind of a show of good faith to Burrow and Chase and those guys of like, look, we understand that change needs to happen for us to get better. Again, whether that's right or wrong is irrelevant. It's all about perception. And look, we're going to do whatever we can to make you happy here. And if that's axe the head coach in the middle of the year when things aren't going well, I think that's what's going to happen.
Okay, so we kind of disagree on this one. Not because I think Zach Taylor's any good. It's just I think the Bengals will be good this year. I irrationally think
I think they could be good this year as well. But
in the case they're not, then you would be right. This would be a show of good faith for sure.
Right. Yeah. I think my only thing with the Bengals is they are so dependent on scoring like 30 points a week, where they were losing so many games last year when Burrow was playing out of his mind. And that could just continue to happen. Like that trend could just keep happening.
That thing could happen, yes.
It's not necessarily that they're worse or better as a team. They're just kind of riding the middle, and them riding the middle could be +2 wins this year or minus a win from last year. That's kind of where I'm at with them as a team.
Yeah, I'm a big positive regression guy. I think that if you lose so many weird, goofy games last year, now it is the Bengals, so I can't just chalk them up as wins. Right. But I feel like, hey, you lose to Washington. Washington doesn't punt a single time all game. If they just punt once, you win. Baltimore, right. they shanked the kick. McPherson in overtime, he just kind of just falls down and shanks the kick. The 2-point conversion at the end of the game in Baltimore, where you could have got Burrow got hit up in the head. They could have won so many of these games. The DPI late DPI call in Kansas City week 2. The Gesicki touchdown that wasn't a touchdown where he didn't cross the goal line and New England won a game week 1 at 16-10. They kind of just like stumbled into a win, which Jacoby Brissett. So there was so many games that the Bengals could have easily won last year. Not saying they're going to win those games because this is Zach Taylor and there's been some decisions where they've lost games that it's on them. At some point we talked about this with Lincoln Riley. So at some point you are kind of who you are. So very well they could be an 8-9, 9-18 again. But I just think that I'm going to go. Everyone's dumping on the Bengals right now because of the Trey Hendrickson thing, the Shamar Stewart thing. Their defense is going to be a disaster. I get all that. All these are good points. I just kind of have a weird feeling that the Bengals are not going to be as unlucky as they were last year in all these close games. I think they pull out maybe one or two more than they did last year, and it's still another third-place schedule. The Browns are still bad. I think they'll manage. They play the AFC East this year. Not a very good division outside of one team. So I like Cincinnati's chances. But
yeah, we'll know within the first month because their gimmick, which has been one of the stupid, most idiotic gimmicks in sports, is their whole we just kind of take the first month of the season off.
It's like a preseason for them.
Why do you do that? When you are playing around the margins, what is the actual point of doing that? Zach Taylor, when you are already on thin ice in your city, what do you think this rationalization is of like, we're going to play the long game with this season? You can't afford to do that.
These games matter.
You have to come out and kind of flex your muscles and try to right this ship. And I think they're going to attempt to do that this year. We'll see if they have it in them. I'm skeptical, as you can tell. But it's just one of those things that's like, hey, man, can you realize that your job's kind of on the line right now? Like, can you have the self-awareness to realize, like, you kind of have to fire these boys up? And
you can't miss three. Yeah, you can't miss the playoffs 3 years in a row.
No.
Not with Joe Burrow as your quarterback. It's impossible. If they don't make the playoffs, he's gone. You can't miss it 3 years 100%. In a row. Even as cheap as the Bengals are, they don't really want to make any waves. They fired the defensive coordinator, brought in Al Golden. If you miss the playoffs 3 years in a row with Joe Burrow, I don't care how it happens. The results are the result. The results are what the results are. And unfortunately, someone's got to get axed. It's not going to be the guys that you just extended with T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, and Joe Burrow. It's not going to be those guys. So
no. The
coach obviously takes the blame.
Yeah, where do you want to jump to next? We got some great stuff here.
Okay. See, some of these are – can we go to the guy that needs to change the scenery?
Of course. One of my favorite ones.
This is one of my favorite ones too. I was trying to find a quarterback for this one, and I just couldn't find one. I think that they're all in decent – I think they're – well – some of them are.
I found one. Yeah.
You did find a quarterback? Okay, well, I want to hear your quarterbacks. I was actually looking. I was looking at a few. I was like, maybe not.
Yeah, it's Kyler Murray, because I don't know how many times we're going to do this charade with Kyler Murray. This, like, is he or isn't he a half-decent quarterback? And kind of in the same vein as Taylor, but in the opposite direction. You kind of get, like, half a awesome Kyler Murray season, and then you get a half a season where you're like, is this guy committed to playing football? And I'm not going to make this idiotic Call of Duty joke or like he would prefer playing baseball joke. Like, it's not about that.
Periodically, he has these weird fluctuations. I don't know if it's Call of Duty, but there's months where he just goes, yeah.
And it's kind of inexplicable. And it doesn't matter like who the team is. Like, there was a game last year against Minnesota where they looked like they were in control early on, and then they kind of just deteriorated. There was the game against Carolina that they absolutely needed to win, and he laid a complete egg. And it's just moments like that you watch, and you're like, is this guy special or not? And you see it sometimes, the glimpses of him, like, his athletic prowess of just being able to escape pressure, running around the pocket, making these absurd throws down the field. And you see the vision of this, like, okay, he's this kind of shorter, turbo Steve Young kind of guy. And then there's other moments where you're like, this guy is a borderline backup in this league because he is struggling to go through his progressions, whether that's height-related or not. I'm not one to say, but clearly it's an issue. And there's other times where his internal clock is just terrible, and he takes stupid sacks at terrible times. So it's one of these things where I'm watching him, and I'm like, is it the infrastructure in Arizona? Is that the problem? Is it like you just need a new environment? Like Indy can have their 18th new quarterback since Andrew Luck. Like, where does he go where he can kind of tap into this potential, or is it just kind of done for him? So that's why I think he needs a change of scenery, because I think like with his talent profile, you at least want to give him that chance at a different place to see, like, is he a change of scenery guy? Like, can he do this in a different place? Or is he just kind of not as good as we want him to be?
I know a team that actually has infrastructure that may or may not be needing a quarterback after the season ends. It's an AFC North team up in Pittsburgh. I don't know if Mike Tomlin's into the Call of Duty stuff with Kyler Murray. Maybe he can play that with Tomlin's son. But that might be a team that I'm with you on the change of scenery for Kyler Murray. I'm not so sure if it's him or the team, but yeah. So some of these,
if you had to lean one way, where would you lean right now?
I would lean that it's more him than the team.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, because at some point, I mean, we've seen it with him specifically now, where he'll have games. The game against Seattle last year, where they were at entering the game in first place in the NFC West. And then something just happened and he was awful. And then you talk about the game in Carolina last year, right before the end of the season, where they needed to win and they were eliminated because he was terrible. So I would think it's probably more Kyler, but at this point, I don't like the Cardinals very much either, so I really don't care who it is. My pick is Garrett Wilson. The Jets are a disaster. I don't know how many times they're going to be throwing the ball this year. I made the joke about this. Take the under on Justin Fields' completion attempts and completions. The stuff out of camp, and I'm not one to make a ton of things out of camp, but still not really throwing over the middle of the field. Obviously, we know Justin Fields is petrified in the middle of the field. Garrett Wilson kind of eats in that intermediate area. So this doesn't feel like, and I know they played together in college at Ohio State. I know it was good, but this is not the same Justin Fields from Ohio State, unless we have a resurgence of some sorts, which I'm not foreseeing, but maybe we do get that. Overall, Aaron Glenn, I like Aaron Glenn, but this is going to be a tough year. Defensive guy coming in, trying to fix an offense that was woeful last year. Aaron obviously didn't mask any of the issues up front. The wide receiver 2 is still Alan Lazard, so it's kind of all on Garrett Wilson. I know. Or unless you're into like Josh Reynolds. I'm not, but right now
Arian Smith's going to see the field.
Arian Smith, big drop guy in college. We'll see how that. Yeah, big drop guy. Led the country in drops last year. We'll see how Arian Smith does. He's their prize draft pick in day 3. So it's basically all on Garrett Wilson's play. I know he just got extended, so I know he's not going anywhere. So before Jets fans start making like declarations, I know he's not going anywhere. I'm just saying, after this year, when the Jets are really bad at throwing the football, and Garrett Wilson, maybe has some unhappy quotes, because that always tends to happen, or unhappy tweets after games. Him and Sauce love to do that. After that, I mean, look, there could be rumblings. I know they, like I said, I know they just extended him, but the Jets are not going to be a very watchable offense this year. And as far as receivers go, it takes a toll. I mean, you know how these receivers can just kind of go out of nowhere and be like, I want the ball. I want to be scoring touchdowns. How many touchdowns are the Jets scoring this year? Not many, I don't think. So we'll see. But I think that Garrett Wilson, kind of similar to the Terry McLaurin early days in Washington, he probably loves it there. I don't doubt that. But at some point too, and I don't think he's Terry McLaurin in terms of he's willing to stick it out for 7 years, wait for a quarterback. I'm not so sure he's willing to do that. But if Justin Fields is still the same guy we saw in Chicago, where he was not really letting it rip when he needed to, then this could be a frustrating year for Garrett Wilson, and maybe a change of scenery, quote unquote, for him or for the Jets as far as who the quarterback is for the future.
Yeah, I'm not convinced he wouldn't leave at the end of the year. I think the problem with me in this situation is last year Wilson seemed to be the biggest Rodgers fan on the planet. And he was always talking about the rapport and how awesome it was to have him in the building. And then Rodgers has his kind of stinker of a year and leaves. And now he has Fields, who, as you mentioned, the college connection to. Yeah. So if he perceives that, okay, Rodgers, who I guess was like a buddy, at least on the field, he can't get it done and he leaves. And then Fields, again, probably a buddy on the field and off, can't get it done. Where do you go from there? And he's got to be self-aware enough to realize, okay, Rodgers was past the hill and Fields is on his third team in as many years, and he probably wasn't cut out for this. But at the same time, as you mentioned, how long is he just going to wait around for them to actually figure it out? They can bring in every friend he's ever had. It doesn't matter unless he can throw him a tight spiral. And
they had Zach Wilson. The Wilson to Wilson connection didn't work. Then Flacco came in. That didn't really work. Right. So they had 5 guys now. They had Tim Boyle. I don't know if you're into Tim Boyle, but they had him too.
Christ, no. But I don't care how much he likes the guy when he puts the pads down. He wants the ball. He wants to excel on the field. And I think at this point, at the end of this year, if we think this goes the way we anticipate this to go, and Fields is kind of terrible, which he's gonna be.
Probably.
Then why wouldn't you want to get out of New York? I don't care how much you like the city. Go, figure it out on your own.
Yeah.
But more so than him potentially requesting a trade, teams in the league are probably going to circle around this guy as one of the premier pass catchers in the league in a terrible situation, in a terrible organization that they perceive they could probably get with some draft capital. And so that's why I love that pick. I had it that he's literally why I made the category.
It's a perfect category for him.
And swooped him.
Yeah.
And so,
but Kyler's not a bad one either. Kyler, I didn't even think about that. I didn't think about all the nonsense with the Cardinals. I always forget about the Cardinals for some reason. But yeah, the Jets are a terrible organization that you can honestly use most people. If you want to go give it an answer, you can figure out the Jets have been the answer for this category for 5 years now. If we're being honest, this could have been a token Jets answer the last 4 years.
Yeah, you could have said Breece Hall. You could have said Sauce Gardner.
Random player on the Jets. Pick them for the last 3 years. That could have been an answer for this. So the Jets are making the rounds for this superlative for sure. I think that we all expect them to be a third or fourth place team in the AFC East once again.
Yeah, for sure. Where are we moving to?
All right, let's move to a middling team that's most likely on the brink of total collapse. This one is near and dear to me, actually. Well, I have a caveat here. So do we consider Dallas a middling team? Are they middling? I mean, in the NFC?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, well then that's an easy one. They're definitely on the brink of total collapse. We don't have to even get into why that is. Right. But I'm actually going to go with my team on this one. I think it's my team. This one might just this. When I read it out loud for the first time, I said, "Oh, this might be actually our team." If the Dolphins lose to the Colts in Week 1 coming up here on Sunday, that's not going to be a good taste.
Are you just like disenchanted immediately if they lose that game? Like
if they lose that game, I know for sure how the season's going to go. I'm not a big Week 1 overreaction guy, but look, if Daniel Jones, who we talked about in length, and that Colts skill position group, shreds this Miami defense, then what could possibly happen?
What if it's not a shredding? What if it's just like a lays and egg loss?
A 19-16.
Yeah.
Then I'm equally as concerned because I don't think the Colts defense is any good either. There's no possible scenario where you can get out of Indianapolis and not win that game for me to feel comfortable. I don't care if you lose 22-21 and Tua looks decent. There's no way I would feel comfortable with my team heading into the season if we lose at Indianapolis, because that's one of the few games where now we're not even favored. So I'm talking about that like we're the underdogs in this game. So if we lose this game, we're only favored. I looked at Vegas. We're only favored in 6 games this year. I can tell you for free. If we go 6-11, that's a disaster, and everyone's getting fired. People may think it's a 6-11 roster. Maybe that's the case, but there's also people that think that they're still a trendy wildcard team. So depending on where you're at with them, Vegas again has us only favored in 6 games. If we don't win more than 6, McDaniel could be axed before Veterans Day. So there's a world where this could go totally wrong. Maybe Tua gets hurt. They only win 4 games. I have no idea. But they're right now a middling team. They've been a middling AFC team for a while, except for 2023 when we went 11-6 and had the number 1 offense in football. Other than that, it's been 9-8, 9-8, 10-7. Last year 8-9. But it's been a lot of hovering around 500. Always in the mix for a wild card. Made the playoffs 2 years in a row. Then Tua gets hurt, obviously. So they're a middling AFC team that fits the bill. But things could obviously go totally wrong. Tyreek Hill's not even a captain. So if he's bad this year, he's got an excuse because everyone's calling him out. So there's already some bad blood, some turmoil, some drama. We've had a bit of a noisy offseason, which I'm also not a big fan of noisy offseason teams. And if Tua gets hurt, we already know this team sucks. So that we don't have to even go into that. If Tua misses games, they're not winning games. And
yeah, real quick before I give my answer, can we get a Tua temperature check? Because I'm curious where you are with this at this point.
As far as staying healthy or how good he is? My temperature check on him staying healthy.
How good he is, because I think we know the health thing. Like, that's kind of obvious at this
point. Yeah, the temperature check on the health thing we're not doing good on that. But I think he's good. I think that Tua keeps improving every year. I'm in the minority here. I totally get it. But it's weird. Every time Tua comes back from a concussion, he improves one layer of his game. Very strange stuff. Last year he came back and he was completing everything on third down. Still putting his head down in defenders a little bit. We need to make sure we don't do that. But outside of that, he's still very efficient, still masks a lot of the issues up front in this offensive line. And they couldn't run the ball worth anything last year. It was honestly embarrassing that we went into the season with the guard play as bad as it was from the interior standpoint with Liam Eichenberg and Robert Jones, and actually fielded the football team that said, hey, we're going to try and run the football. That was a joke. We obviously can't run the ball with that push on the offensive line up front. So he masked a lot of that. We were in a lot of 3rd and longs, which he had to kind of get us out of and convert. It's also a very gimmicky offense. It's a lot of swing passes. It's a lot of quick stuff, RPOs. I'm not the biggest fan of those offenses, but I think Tua excels at it. So overall, I think for this offense, my temperature check is high with Tua because this is perfect for him. He can get the ball out lightning quick and mask all the issues we have up front.
My team is the Steelers, which is incredibly obvious.
I was looking at this.
If you know me, you know me, you know how I feel about the Steelers and how gimmicky their last decade as a franchise has been. This idea of kind of riding the NFL Mendoza line and being as mediocre as humanly possible to keep this streak that no one actually really cares about.
No one cares about the streak at all. It's so embarrassing.
They added my guy Aaron Rodgers, who had one awesome game last year. That Jacksonville game, man, put that in the Hall of Fame highlight reel.
Holy cow, that was good.
But outside of that, it was kind of terrible, to say the least. And now,
by the way, newsflash, everyone played well against Jacksonville last year. That was just no one played bad against them. Yeah.
No, not at all. I mean, Mac Jones was the quarterback opposite of him in that game, if you don't remember. But anyway, so Pittsburgh, the problem with them for me is like just the complete lack of talent, particularly offensively. So cool. You have Rodgers at your quarterback. Surely you surrounded him with awesome weapons, right? Well, you get DK Metcalf. That's awesome. Wide receiver 2 down is a who's who of like, we know these guys, but
who else knows
Calvin Austin? Where are you at with Calvin Austin as your wide receiver 2 right now?
I mean, there was some moments last year where, converted a few third downs. Like, I mean,
sure, yeah, he's fun, I guess, but like, come on, like
wide receiver 2, I don't think so.
Like wide receiver 5 that you'd play with in Madden when you're a kid because he has a fast speed rating.
Yeah, has some things. There's some things about him, but yeah.
Underneath that, Roman Wilson, who I actually like. I liked
him out of college,
but
yes, we did.
But still, I'm so glad Rodgers is hyping him up. I'm sure he's going to have a fantastic year. Scotty Miller, who was supposed to be the next like great white Brady wide receiver.
Yeah, didn't happen, unfortunately.
How'd that go? Ben Skoranek.
Oh, I remember Ben Skoranek. Yeah.
Fine player. Had some fun moments in Los Angeles.
With Baker. Yeah, he was Baker's favorite guy for a few weeks.
Can you believe he's still in the league? I couldn't.
I didn't.
I had to double check. I actually didn't know he was on this team. I felt bad about it. I'm so sorry, Ben. It's funny because if you look their roster up, they're just in 12 personnel because they know how bad their wide receiver group is.
Yeah, they're going to stand.
So it's Freiermuth and John at tight end, which is fine, But at the end of the day, you have this quarterback who physically could not move in the pocket last year. He's still okay under pressure if he has time to just kind of plant his feet and throw a dinky pass over the middle because that's what Rodgers excelled at throughout his entire career. But he cannot evade rushers whatsoever. And it's not just the injury. I don't think being 2 years removed from the Achilles is going to be that much helpful here. I think primarily at this point it's his age. He was never that athletic. So I think the deterioration of his athleticism at this point is a problem. Yeah. And then you add the injury on top of that, and you have this guy who can kind of spin it if he has perfect time, and he can throw a go ball down the field and allow DK to make a play. But he can't do the kind of in and out of the game anymore. He's just not consistent from drive to drive anymore like he used to be. He's not as accurate as he used to be. He's not as like cerebral in his decision making as he used to be. He's literally a corpse of what he once was. And all that to say, that might be worse than Justin Fields and Russell Wilson last year, which is insane to say.
It was bad.
Like, it's insane to say that, but I think it might happen because if we were ranking quarterbacks based off last season play, I think we'd both have Rodgers above Fields, and he'd be in the same territory as Wilson, within a few spots. But if you add on the extra year, the positional talent around him on this squad, it's only going to get worse, which is crazy to think about, as we mentioned. But I think Rodgers is going to be literally abysmal. And as far as the defense, which is very good, they were only 10th in defensive EPA last year. They need to be probably like third or higher for this team to get into the postseason again. And I just, look, when you have Highsmith and Watt on the edge, I think you can do great things. I think they can influence a lot. But if Watt goes down even for a few weeks, all of a sudden, that just kind of goes out the window. He's that impactful. So, for me, Pittsburgh, look, I know Mike Tomlin, congratulations. You can ride the middle for your entire career. I think this is when the wheels fall off. And whether they keep him with the extension or they finally are like, this is ridiculous at this point. Like, how many times are we going to do this merry-go-round with this guy? I don't really care what the decision is, but I think at the end of the year, this is going to be a real just total collapse. Where do we go from here? Do we have to kind of sell high in a few of these guys and kind of finally start from the bottom and work our way up?
We've been waiting for that for a few years now with Pittsburgh.
They've been so reluctant to do it because of this proud history that they have and this Steelers pride. And look, I understand wanting to give your fans like a decent product on the field, and you want to give them playoff games and all this stuff. But at the end of the day, you're only hurting your long-term potential. Like, you're going to collapse at some point. So wouldn't you rather kind of be proactive about it? And instead, they've been incredibly reactive, and they've done just enough to remain in the same place. I don't think they've done enough this year.
Do you want to talk about the Steelers' offensive line, or is that not even worth talking about?
Is it even worth it? Because, again, if you're going to have Aaron Rodgers as your quarterback, who is a few years away from being on AARP, you might as well have a decent offensive line for him to kind of have this quick passing attack.
Which they don't.
No, they don't. They don't have it at all. And something that he excelled at throughout his career, of course, was play action, turning his back to the defense. He refuses to get hit now, which I honestly understand. But if you're going to be an NFL quarterback, you're going to have to take some licks. And if he continuously refuses to get hit and kind of goes away from this play action stuff that he was so elite at throughout his career, what are we doing? Like what is this going to look like? It's going to look terrible.
So you're not into Broderick Jones, the walking penalty that is Broderick Jones. You're not into the possible quick game Arthur Smith offense where it's get the ball out of your tight ends and hope that they run people over and yak. It's going to be interesting.
Arthur Smith is going to take over for Freddie Kitchens when Belichick dumps him at the end of the year.
Probably. Yeah, Freddie Kitchens, not a great debut for him last night, but we won't get into that. But I don't mind the Steelers pick. I think that Tomlin, weirdly enough, it's just they can kind of just dork out a few games that make no sense, and you look up, it's like, oh, they're 7-7. It's December. So eventually the wheels are going to fall off. I don't know if it's going to be this year. I'd like to imagine that it would be pretty poetic if Mike Tomlin's first non-losing season is with Aaron Rodgers, a future Hall of Fame quarterback. But this merry-go-round carousel they've been on since Big Ben has retired is kind of a joke at this point. Mitchell Trubisky, Mason Rudolph, Kenny Pickett, Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, now Aaron Rodgers. After this year, maybe
Duck Hodges mentioned, Mike.
Oh, Duck Hodges. I'm sorry, Duck Hodges. My bad. He had a few nice moments there.
Married or engaged to a country singer whose name I can't remember right now. But
okay,
he's doing
another fact. Well, yeah. Well, I mean, again, I'm just lumping him in there with all the Kenny Pickett's of the world and Mitch Trubisky's. So Pittsburgh eventually is going to have to tear this thing down. When that will happen, I don't know. But not a bad candidate for 2025. They do fit the bill. So yeah, they. Which one should we go to next year? I mean, there's a few ones here that I really the have to pinch yourself. This guy's an MVP candidate is really getting my attention here. At the,
go for it.
Of the screen. So here's our next superlative. So this is you have to pinch yourself. This guy is an MVP candidate. Last year, obviously, we know this would have been Sam Darnold. He would have won this award going away. Maybe Baker Mayfield as well. It's like, wait, it's December, and who's on your MVP ballot? Is that 14-2 Sam Darnold?
Sam Darnold would have been unanimous and would have had a statue for this award.
Yes, he was the award last year for sure. This one I had two guys, because one of them I think is good, and Bo Nix, but I can't, he's not a top 10 quarterback, so it would be kind of out of nowhere if he was the MVP of the league. And then the other one I have is Sam Darnold's, predecessor, or his new, the guy taking over his job, in J.J. McCarthy, these are two guys I wasn't even high on out of college, in Bo Nix and J.J. McCarthy. But at this point, I'm going to go J.J. McCarthy. It's like, wait, what are his numbers for Minnesota this year? And I'm going to go solely based off of KOC, Kevin O'Connell, is quarterback proof. Has he had a bad quarterback in this offense outside of the random guy that played for them when Kirk Cousins went down 2 years ago? That guy we all hated out of Texas A&M. I forget his name, but or out of BYU. Jaron Hall.
Jaron Hall. Yeah.
Sorry, Jaron Hall. Outside of him, has there been bad quarterback play at all in Minnesota since Kevin O'Connell's been here? I don't think there has. It's been all good quarterback play for the Vikings. So because of that, I don't know how good J.J. McCarthy is. They run the ball a lot at Michigan. I don't know. He's got some tools, whatever. But, if he comes in there and Minnesota's got a great defense, they got a number one receiver in Justin Jefferson. They fixed the offensive line. Darrisaw's back. They brought in Ryan Kelly. So, is there a world where he can be Darnold? Sure. I mean, I wouldn't put it past him. The Minnesota's pretty good. They got some good players around him. So maybe we look up in January and we say, wow, J.J. McCarthy, he's not making mistakes. He's got some good numbers. They're winning. I have to squint a little bit, but is that an MVP ballot? Is that J.J. McCarthy MVP ballot? I don't know. Maybe.
Is he third in the power rankings?
Is he third in power rankings? I can't believe that he's in the same sentence as Lamar Jackson. I don't believe it. But maybe that's what we see with Minnesota. Maybe there is no fall off. I know they won a lot of weird close games last year. Usually they pull back with those. But, hey, if he makes a statement on Monday Night Football against the trendy Bears, this would look pretty good. If they go on the road here and he looks awesome. It's like, wait, early MVP candidate. JJ McCarthy. I don't know, but that's my pick for the squint.
Yeah, you're gonna love this one. I have Michael Penix.
I was gonna go with him. It was between him and McCarthy. I think you were gonna. I knew you were gonna go with Penix. West Coast guy, of course.
This is the last year I'm doing this Falcons facade.
I hope
this is my final year buying in.
Just retiring.
It's over after this. It's put up or shut up, Atlanta. The thing with Penix is I think he's been incredibly undervalued since he's been drafted. There's this notion around him that he's kind of this walking splint, which I totally understand because of his college history.
A lot of injuries.
But I think the part that's kind of being missed right now is how freaking awesome he was in his last year at Washington. He was unbelievable. And he plays different than I think a lot of other people perceive how he plays. Yeah. He's this guy who just rips it down the field constantly. He likes to push the ball. He likes to throw over the middle. He's a hyper-aggressive quarterback. And he's prone to thinking his, zip is a little bit better than it is. And you'll see some balls that you're like, I wish he didn't do that. But when it's all said and done, he's this guy who, can truly elevate a passing attack. He kind of reminds me of this southpaw like late 2000s, early 2010s Big Ben, where it's just constant, we're just chucking, we're
pushing the ball downfield.
We're moving when we have to, but at the end of the day, we're just throwing it up. And that's why I think Penix has a real chance to put up gaudy numbers in this offense. I like the crew around him. At one point, they're going to have to show up, okay? He's a super-duper star in the backfield in Bijan Robinson, who I thought at the end of last year was a revelation. That's how talented he was.
He was awesome.
Mike, do you want to do the Kyle Pitts thing?
Do I have to? I mean, this is my last year. This is also my last year with him, too. We're both retiring from the Kyle Pitts thing, right? Maybe you already retired.
Yeah, no. I submitted my card and I retracted it. I was like, one more year. I'll do one more year.
You want one more subscription? I'm with you on that. Maybe I'll give it one more year. I'm not really fully renewed, though. I'm just kind of dangling on. I'm half paying for it, but okay, sure.
Yeah, it's lapsed at this point. I get you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hanging on by a thread, but
I like the weapons too. Yeah, and then they have Drake London, who I think is again, a super duper star in waiting. He was that good, and when Penix played, they treated London like he was that Chase Jefferson level target. That's how much attention he was getting. So I think if Bijan can continue to be that guy in the backfield, if Pitts can just be literally anything, if he can return to 80, 90% of his rookie form or even exceed that, and then you have London on the outside, you have enough tools then to kind of be able to put something together. And like I said, it'll be a stats thing, I think, with Penix, because if he is still pushing the ball downfield, he can eclipse that 300 yards passing. He can compile those touchdowns. And even if Bijan chews into some of the total touchdown stuff in the red zone, I don't think it'll matter that much, because I think this offense can be that prolific. And as you mentioned, the NFC South,
I was just going to say,
dumpster fire.
You get Carolina's defense twice a year. Tampa Bay's defense is getting better, but their secondary last year was brutal. The Saints are on the schedule twice a year, by the way, so we haven't even gotten to them. So you can absolutely talk yourself into this. Is again probably my last year with the Atlanta offense.
And that's just divisional games.
That's 6 of those. You get 6 of those games. Yeah. You kind of pad your numbers a little bit, and you also get some out of division games where if he's good and this offense is good, I mean you get Dallas's defense in there. I think they mix that in, so they face some. They face some defenses where, I think
you get Miami's secondary, which is
our corners. Who are our corners? No one's ever heard of them. So Penix can absolutely talk himself into, some gaudy numbers, like you said. And I think the offense is good. I'm not doing Atlanta as a trendy NFC South champion thing. I'm done with that. I was never really even on it. Everyone else was, because their defense is still bad.
Yeah, I'm dipping the toe in, but I'm not saying it out loud.
Not the whole foot. You're just kind of see what the waters are like. But I think Penix. You can't get much worse quarterback play than Kirk Cousins last year. That one you won't. At least post Halloween, Kirk Cousins was.
No, he was a statue in the pocket.
It was bad.
I talked about how Rodgers couldn't move. Rodgers looked like an Olympic hurdler compared to Kirk.
Compared to Kirk Cousins, Kirk Cousins literally could not move. Literally could not move. It was
so bad. In Penix, look, the injury thing is a concern, right? Especially with the lower body stuff, the ACLs and whatnot that he's struggled with throughout his tenure as a quarterback from the collegiate level on. But if he can just stay healthy, which he was able to do his last year in Washington, if he can just stay healthy and kind of play within the confines of a downfield passing attack, I think he can be a really, really good NFL quarterback. I just want to see it. I know he didn't look awesome coming in, but again, he wasn't really expected to come in. And there was some moments, sure, but he wasn't
Washington
really
game late
to come in. Before the season, if you asked Michael Penix why he was playing, he was probably like, oh, it's either week 18 or Kirk Cousins got severely hurt. Yes. It wasn't just because Kirk Cousins physically couldn't move and he got benched.
That's so. No.
I think with the year being established as the starting quarterback and kind of getting some valuable reps at the end of last year under his belt, I think this is kind of all guns ahead for Penix.
Those were big. I thought those 3 games late against the Giants, Washington, and Carolina were really important for him. I mean, I don't think he thought when Kirk Cousins signed a 4-year deal with the Falcons and then he got drafted a month later that he would be playing right away. Or not right away.
No, I think if you asked him, he'd be like, if I can get in for 2027, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. In the first year of the 4-year Kirk Cousins deal, for him to play 3 games in meaningful December games, that's pretty good. And he didn't look too bad. I mean, there was some games against Carolina. I know Carolina's defense was statistically the worst in the NFL ever last year, but he put up 38 points in that game, had some nice drives. It was mostly Bijan that game, but he had some nice downfield throws to Drake London and other guys. There was some moments last year. It was good for him to get his feet wet. And I don't hate the pick. I was actually between him and J.J. McCarthy as the year 2 quarterback, because technically this is actually year 2 for McCarthy. He didn't play at all his first year.
Right.
Much because he got injured and also Darnold was the MVP candidate. But him and Penix were both supposed to sit their first years. Penix was not supposed to go in last year. That was off script. That was because Kirk Cousins physically broke down, couldn't move. I think both those guys are good candidates. I think I just trust Minnesota a little bit more. But hey, if Atlanta, that division's wide open. If Tampa Bay maybe suffers a few too many injuries, then maybe Atlanta is another fun offense. He's put up numbers and stays healthy. It's very, very possible that I can squint and see it. I can get there. with that one.
Look, they were talking about Burrow as an MVP candidate when everyone knew he was going to miss the playoffs.
They were 5-8. And he said, "Well, look at the numbers." Yeah.
10 games and be in that 6-7 seed range. I think he'll be firmly in the conversation if the statistical output is what I think it could be.
Right. Yeah. No, I'm with you on that one. So where should we depart to next? We still got a few good ones left here. Should we go to the "It's time to hang up the cleats, pal" award?
This is my favorite one by far.
Yes. I think you had a really good one for this. I forget what it was. But.
Yeah, just let me cook here. So, I'm 23. I'll be 24 in a couple of months. I remind myself all the time I'm not that old. No. Do I wish I could run a little bit faster like I did a few years ago? Sure. Do I want to add a few more pounds to the lat push down? Sure. But there's time to do that for me. I'm not sure there's time for Javonte Williams, who I think was an absolute embarrassment last year in Denver. It looked like he was running with a weighted vest on throughout the entire season.
He might have been.
He had a 3.6 yards per carry. That was high in my head. I thought it was closer to 2 because that's how bad it was at times. He hits the hole like it's in slow motion. He couldn't break any tackles anymore. He's 25 years old, and he looks like he's like Adrian Peterson off the street right now trying to get back into the league. It was that bad. And Dallas saw that and said, hey, man,
sign us up.
You can be our starter if you want. We'll bring you in. Sure. So when you were talking about Dallas earlier, that's the state they're in. So Javonte Williams, 25 years old, I think is already over the hill. But I'll give a real answer. I'll give a serious answer.
A serious answer.
Nick Chubb, my good old friend Nick Chubb, who I think was one of the most impactful running backs of the last decade in the NFL. He was such an incredible watch during his prime. I think it's just been a few too many injuries.
Is it over?
And he's coming into this year in Houston, and I think there's been mixed reports. There were some reports out of camp that he was like this super washed guy.
Yeah.
And then the beat reporters were like kind of retracting that. And I was like, did the team yell at them? Is it actually is he actually getting into game shape? What's going on? There were some quotes around the team that were like, hey, he's going to be important this year. Hey, circle Nick Chubb. He's going to be great. You better be drafting him late in fantasy drafts. There might be something there. I just find it so hard to believe that with the wear and tear that he suffered at this point, that he can just reclaim his status as a above average NFL running back. I think if he's average, that's actually a good thing. Like, I'd be impressed if he's just like 4 yards a carry. Like, I'd
behind
be like,
that line. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that'd be pretty awesome, right? But I just think like he's so injury prone at this point. He's going to be losing more of his juice that he was already losing, but somehow still kind of just chugging along.
Yeah.
I just think it's kind of the time's up for Nick Chubb. And I feel bad because I really like him as a player.
I love him.
Like, he was so awesome, but I just think at this point, like, it's kind of over.
Yeah, no, I love Nick Chubb, but I think that's not a bad one for you. Mine one, I went between 3 receivers. I think we talked about this off air. There's 3 receivers that are reuniting with their old teams. I think Keenan Allen. Do we have to see that again? Really? Are we back with Keenan Allen in LA? Really? I just can't get on board
Justin
with
Herbert. He's like looking around. Yeah. He's like, oh, Keenan, welcome back.
He's back.
Middle, man. Like,
yes, we called him the old sage last year. Caleb just kind of found him randomly over the middle of the field sometimes. It was a little weird.
And
I don't need to see
get out of the way because Lad's in front of you. So can you move and let Lad work?
Yeah, we got Lad here. We just brought in Trey Harris in round 2 from Ole Miss. We're into him, I guess. I'm not into Keenan Allen at all at this age. When I first read this thing, I thought, okay, it's an old guy award. And then you brought in Javonte Williams. I felt it's like, oh gosh, am I looking in the wrong area? But I think overall, Keenan Allen, I don't need to see this again for the Chargers. I need to see more Lad. I want to see some Amari and Hampton. I want to see this youth movement of LA. Behind this awesome offensive line, I guess not as much anymore because Rashawn Slater's down now for the whole year, so that's a bit underwhelming. But yeah, do I need to see Keenan Allen back here? I mean, at this point, should we bring back Mike Williams? I mean, let's get the whole band back together. So I don't need to see it.
Might as well.
Yeah, this is, and then you mentioned Adam Thielen as well as another guy who goes back to Minnesota. I think we kind of still like Adam Thielen a little bit, not enough to put him in this category.
I thought he was actually kind of good in Carolina, but I think it's to the point with Adam Thielen, like how many more times can you keep doing this? At some point, it's just going to go the wrong way.
Father Time's undefeated, man. It really is undefeated.
That's just a projection thing. But yeah, I mean, because people are kind of like, oh, Adam Thielen and Jefferson, baby, like let's go. And I don't know. Like I wouldn't be too hyped if I was a Minnesota fan.
No, it should go better than Adam Thielen, Stephon Diggs when that back in the day in Minnesota. That was an interesting combo. Jed is good enough to where they don't have to worry about. But yeah, Adam Thielen, I guess, cool, fine, he's back. That's nice. But Keenan Allen back with the Chargers. I wanted to go pass rusher for this award because Von Miller, Joey Bosa, these guys are always up for these awards. But I wanted to go Keenan Allen because I just feel like I don't need to see it. I visually don't need to see it. At least with Von Miller now in Washington and Joey Bosa now on Buffalo, it's teams that they view themselves as close. And this is the kind of the third down pass rush. They could just get him over the hump.
They can just make a few plays in a playoff run.
That's all I'm asking.
Contracts are worth it.
That's all they're paid to do. Is if they can come up big in a divisional round, then it's worth it. With this, what is the point? What is the objective of bringing back Keenan Allen? I don't really understand.
If he catches three balls in a playoff game, Keenan Allen.
I thought it was like on a Thursday night game. I would have been like, oh, okay, that's a good. I was thinking maybe Prime Video, they get him a little 5 catches. I'm like, oh, Keenan Allen's here. I forgot he's going
to give the Chargers a rivalry jersey just because Keenan Allen is back.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty much the only rationale I can see with bringing. I don't really need to see it. It's just not really. It's not for me.
Yeah, I'm all set.
I'm all set on Keenan Allen. So what about the do we go to the quarterback who most desperately needs a career year? This one I think I had Kyler for, but you already talked about Kyler. So what was your quarterback who most desperately needed a career year?
I had Trevor, and I know you kind of mentioned Trevor a bit off the top, but I think this is so critical for a guy who came into the league as kind of the second coming. He was in the Andrew Luck, Peyton Manning conversations.
Yeah, he was. He was.
This guy absolutely is flawless as a prospect. I see nothing he can do wrong on tape. And all he's been in the NFL is flawed. There's been all these problems with him as a quarterback. His progression reads have been kind of terrible, especially
not good.
No. Especially late in games where he kind of just pees down his leg at inopportune times.
Yeah.
And he's not great at evading pressure in the pocket either.
No.
He likes to occasionally just move into his blockers, which I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah, there's a little bit of that in there.
Yeah, and I think there's some just pure recklessness with him as well. And whether that's just trying to make a play because his team's kind of been a basement dweller throughout the majority of his career, or whether that's just him not really getting it yet, I'm not too sure. But it doesn't really matter because this is the year where, look, they could win 6 games. But if Trevor Lawrence has like 40 touchdowns and 8 interceptions,
they're
no
feeling
one cares.
Good. Yeah,
they feel awesome about it.
Yeah.
So this isn't even like a record-dependent thing. This is truly a can he just ball out thing. Because if he can't, then Shad Khan is going to have some questions about his quarterback. And look, I don't think this has been nearly the story that it should be. Because if Lawrence is bad this year, are they really going to trot him out to do the exact same thing another year?
Like how many? No.
Like how many chances is he going to get? Like it'd be interesting if he kind of does the Kyler Murray like shows like 8 games of pure.
There's months of good football, but months of bad football.
They're like right, like then it'd be interesting. Yeah. But if it's more disparaging than not, then it's a real problem, and he's gonna be looking for a new team, I think, despite that super lucrative contract. Even if they have to eat some of that money, I think there's going to be a point where Jacksonville, which is a super reactionary franchise, is going to maybe start looking for an exit plan.
You mentioned super reactionary franchise. I also have a number 1 overall pick that's on a super reactionary franchise. I went with Bryce Young.
Yeah.
This is huge for him. I think that you bring in Dave Canales. The offensive line is quietly really good.
Mike, can we do a thing real quick?
Oh, yeah.
Bryce Young was not good at the end of last year. He was fine, okay? He was a 5.5 out of 10. This notion that he was, like, awesome is so idiotic. Look, he was, like, one of the worst quarterbacks I've ever seen in my life for the majority of his tenure in Carolina until the Andy Dalton car crash, which I think is, like, super skeptical. Was that Bryce Young's mom behind the wheel who caused that crash? I don't know. But before that point, he was horrific. So as soon as he started playing like less than like mind-boggling football, people were like, "That's the Bryce Young they picked number 1 overall." Like, no, it's not. He still wasn't that good. He was fine. He was adequate. But he wasn't this awesome guy. So you're 100% correct because like we still haven't really seen him be that good yet. Like he was okay.
He was better than the end of the Dalton campaign there when Dalton was kind of spiraling. The magic pixie dust.
Low bar.
No, very low bar. Remember, at the end of last year, Bryce Young got a couple cupcake defenses to face in the Falcons, the Cardinals. He got to face them last year. The Buccaneers had a really bad defense last year. So he kind of had the last 5 games. They feasted on some opponents that were not great. He played fine against the Chiefs and the Eagles. Those are the ones where the Panthers fans were like, "Hey, we got some moral losses in there." We were close to beating those teams, and Bryce showed some things. But this is a huge year for him because I actually kind of like the pieces around him. Sneaky enough, Carolina's got some pieces, I know. But the O-line's good. They were good last year, and now I think the weapons are better than they were. I know we mentioned Adam Thielen. We were both like, okay, we've test drove it. That's fine, but we need to get a legit number 1 here. They tried the
Thielen Coker guy, right?
A little bit. Holy Cross, I have him in a dynasty league, but overall, I mean, they tried the Xaiver Leggett thing last year in round 1. That didn't really work. And now they go Tet McMillan round 1. So back-to-back round 1 receivers.
I think Leggett apparently like tearing up camp. Like tearing it up.
He's a camp body. I think that's a camp warrior right there. I don't know how much that's going to translate. I'm not the biggest Leggett guy. But Tet McMillan, this is a guy that Dave Canales, I think, would love because there's some physical traits that are similar to Mike Evans. And you don't even need Bryce Young to put the ball like perfectly because the guy's catch radius is massive. So Ted McMillan's a guy, really smooth mover. We watched him in Arizona. We were big on Arizona last year, probably because of him. We had them winning the Big 12 quietly. Ducks. But so whoops, we got the wrong Arizona school there. But either way, we like Ted McMillan out of Arizona. We like him in this Dave Canales offense. Do we like Bryce Young? I don't know, but he needs to be. We need to like Bryce Young if we're going to like Carolina because he needs a career year really bad. This would be year 3 now, and well, if he gets benched, obviously that's the end of it because we know in year 3, if you're getting benched in year 3, just ask Anthony Richardson how that's going to go. You're basically done. So they benched him in year 2, little quick to bench him there. I think they benched him in week 2 or week 3, whatever it was. So it was like right off the bat. They're like, okay, we've seen enough, and then they went back to him. Year 3,
they didn't have a choice, really.
They didn't have a choice. Obviously, Dalton got exactly. So he kind of got in there, and they were like, well, I guess just don't make a mistake. And then he had some nice games on the stretch. So year 3, this is where you got to all put it together. This is the big year for. This has to be a career year. There's really no bar. So it's not like it's not like he's had a career year before this. So it's a very low bar. But we like what's going on in Carolina. I like Dave Canales. I think the running game should be a little bit better. I mean, I know they had Chuba Hubbard last year.
Dowdle, I think that's
Chuba. Those are 2,000-yard rushers if you're into that kind of thing. So it should be fine. It's all up to him though. He's got to be good, no doubt.
Yeah, this is I want to go to one of my other favorite ones. This team will never find a window on my Sunday ticket, Mike.
I love this one. I don't know how I bounced around and missed this one. Can I start this one off?
Yeah.
I was gonna go with the New Orleans Saints, but I'm actually forced to watch them on Sunday Ticket 3 times this year. They got to face the Dolphins and they face Tampa Bay twice. And as a Baker guy, I'm gonna have to watch that twice, unfortunately. So it's not gonna be the Saints because I have to watch them 3 out of 18 times. Out of the 18 weeks, I got to watch them 3 times. It's the Colts again for me. I'm gonna go back to the Colts. I'm double dipping with the Colts. I got to watch them week 1, I guess, because they play the Dolphins. But after that, I will not return to the Colts on my television on Sunday. They're not even making the quad box. I mentioned
not even if they play Riley Leonard.
Okay. Well, see, this is where we're throwing things in. Okay, see now that maybe, but again, if the Browns play Shedeur Sanders, they're a quad box ticket team.
Or Gabriel,
Gabriel. So yes, and I even like Flacco. So I'm not interested in really anyone in that Colts quarterback room, maybe except for Riley Leonard. So unless they go to that guy, I'm not tuning into any Colts games after week 1, unless I'm forced to. Unless they throw them on like a Monday night game or something. I don't know. Hopefully, if they throw them in a Monday night game, it's a doubleheader, so I don't have to watch them. But I'm totally not watching. Who cares about the Colts this year? Does anyone actually care?
I mean, they're like they're a team that people are scared will just like eke out like 7-8 wins based off being like so disgusting. Like they'll have a decent enough defense, and Jonathan Taylor will have a decent year, and Daniel Jones will just not fumble 40 times. But I just don't envision that happening. Like that's being way too optimistic for my
even if that happens, is that enough to get them on the quad box? Is that enough to get
not even no.
I'd rather watch the Giants.
No possible way unless they just start undefeated. Like they have to go in a streak like that. Yes. I have to be
I have to watch the Colts now. They won 3 in a row. Let me tune in. Unless that happens, I'd rather watch the Giants. Like I don't care about the Colts at all.
Like this team did that. This team did that last year. Who I'm picking, and I'm not a Dolphins fan. And as much as I love Baker and Bucky, I will just take the 2 weeks off. I'm talking about the Saints. You just this Spencer Rattler thing is like advanced calculus to me, and I was incredibly good at math, but there was a point in advanced calculus where I'm like, what are we doing at this point? Like, who needs to know this? And that's where I'm at with Spencer Rattler. Like, what am I missing here that we need to see this guy on a screen every week? Because Spencer Rattler was just false goods at Oklahoma. Yeah. They tried to talk me into him being like
South Carolina,
sneaky awesome at South Carolina. And I was like, is he? Is he though? Like, I know the offensive line's terrible, but are we sure he's sneaky awesome? And then again, the draft comes around and they're like, he's got the traits still. Those traits, they never
5-star quarterback out of high school. Watch out.
And now I guess he was less awful in camp than Tyler Shuck. Congratulations. So he gets the nod. They cut my guy Jake Haener, so it's him and Mr. Shuck. And Shuck again, he has the traits. This is even more insulting because Shuck did it for 6 years, and now he's a rookie. And if you're a 6-year collegiate player, I hope you're playing as a rookie. No, he's not. You want to know why he's not? Because he's not really good.
He's not good at football.
He has the traits. He has. Right. He's so smart in the room, man.
You've heard that before. Yes.
Oh my God.
Very cerebral.
Have you seen the zip on that slant? Oh my God, it's incredible. It's incredible. Too bad it goes to the other team half the time because he doesn't really know where it's going. For such a smart guy, why does he make so many idiotic mistakes during these games?
For a 6-year senior. Oh my God.
Like Louisville last year, you'd watch them and you'd be like, this is a pretty good team. And then at the worst possible moment, he'd make a back-breaking, terrible mistake. And you're like, well, yeah, it's Tyler Shuck. Like, you probably should have saw that one coming.
Yes.
You know? Like, we probably should have envisioned
that.
The
Saints said, we want that. That's what we want.
We need that guy with our other false hope guy. They're kind of the same guy, different font. It's awesome. Like, genuinely, it's awesome. But I just can't put up with it. Like, there's no chance. Like,
so you're not tuning in to see if Chris Olave does something on Sunday?
Right. Real. No. Well, he'll be concussed by, like, week 4. So
we're not watching them at all after
No,
tonight.
absolutely not. Like, maybe if Shuck comes in, like, a hate watch, like, I'll laugh. I'll sit there and laugh. Like, this is funny. But seriously, no. There's no serious way I'm putting them on on a
on a
quad
screen.
box.
They're not making any screen. Unfortunately, I know you love your Cardinals, but I'm also not going to be watching Saints Cardinals week 1. That will not make the. I'll have to go back and watch it after the actual window. But that in the 1 o'clock window, not a great 1 p.m. window, by the way, week 1. And Cardinals Saints is kind of the highlight.
It really never is.
It's never usually. It's always Steelers. Iron Eagles going to call it Steelers game, whatever. But yeah, the 1 o'clock window on week 1 is never usually great. There's always a few division games that are whatever. But I will not be tuning into Saints Cardinals week 1. Even if it's a Cardinals hate watch, I'm not watching the Saints. So I'll wait till week 2 when Arizona plays somebody of significance. So yeah, no Saints on my television screens unless they play Baker, which I want to see how Baker and Bucky do. Maybe I'll watch a half, and then I'll be like, okay, enough Saints. I can't do it anymore.
I'll watch the Twitter highlights. I'm like, oh
Twitter
my God,
highlights,
Bucky,
like,
50 yards again?
400 yards of offense against the Saints in the first half. It's like, okay,
That's
we don't.
third 50-yard rush of the game? What?
So yeah, that'll be a good fantasy watch, but overall, I don't need to see them on Sunday Ticket. So which one should we head to next? Have we gone? We'll save the Megan Fox one for last.
Hey, whoa! Don't. Yeah, we gotta bury that. We
don't want to spoil that one up. That's our headliner. That's the main card. So which one should we go to next? We have
we're gonna go to another team one.
Oh.
We're gonna do the good team that will take the leap to be great. And you've kind of talked about your answer a few times, but go more in depth than that.
It's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I love everything about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this year. This was a team that won 10 games last year. Kind of got a little unlucky in some close games. I mentioned this with Cincinnati. They lost to San Francisco late. Todd Bowles had some weird decision-making. They lost 2 Atlanta games that they really should never have lost, both those Atlanta games. It was kind of the one Kirk Cousins game where he was like unbelievable, and there was like a spike with 1 second left. And Tampa Bay was a better team than 10-7 last year. And I think overall their defense was bad last year. Remember, a lot of injured Antoine Winfield Jr. last year. Only played in I believe 8 or 9 games. The cornerback room was depleted. There's a lot of backup corners. They kind of had a revolving door at receiver. As good as the offense was last year, remember Godwin got hurt in week 6. Evans got hurt, had to go on the IR. Almost costed him his 1,000-yard receiver streak. He came in and got it at the end there, but he had to miss 4 games. It was Cade Otton was like the wide receiver 1 for a few weeks in Tampa Bay because they were without a lot of their guys. And overall, they still won 10 games. I love this offense. I love year 2 Bucky Irving. Baker Mayfield keeps improving it. I know it's a third year, different coordinator. I get it. But I think Baker might just be OC proof at this point. He's if you want to date back to Cleveland, this is his 5th offensive coordinator in 5 years. So at this point, he's just ho-hum. He's going to keep going. And I think Todd Bowles will overall have the defense improved a little bit. They draft Benjamin Morrison, who I like out of Notre Dame. The pass rushers are good. Yaya Diaby and Kalijah Kancey. And the Buccaneers always get good linebacker play. So I just trust Tampa Bay in this division. You can get 6 wins. You can talk yourself into 6 wins in this division. And if you're the 1 seed in the NFC, say you take care of the other games, it's not a very difficult schedule. They play the AFC East, like I mentioned, so you can get wins against Miami, New England, and the Jets relatively comfortably. So there's some wins that could come on the schedule if everyone stays healthy. I know they're out without Tristan Wirfs the first couple of weeks. But if the Bucs win 12 games, that's a team that went from good to great. And now they might have a bye. 12, 13 wins. And then you talk about you're hosting a playoff game. Maybe you're hosting 2 playoff games if you're a 2 seed. So I like Tampa to take an obvious jump in a terrible division. And I think their defense is better. So I think Tampa Bay, assuming health concerns, I like Baker. I like Todd Bowles. This team will be in it in January. I think they'll be a second weekend team.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And I knew you were going that route. So I'm going to go with a similar build-up of a team in the AFC.
Okay.
The Denver Broncos, I think, are a sleeping giant. And I know the division is tough. I think Vegas is going to be a little bit better than people anticipate. I think the Chargers, if they can get adequate wide receiver play, will be a force.
Yeah.
But Denver, who had an unbelievable defense last year, got better.
They did.
They literally got better on defense. The Greenlaw and Hufanga, adding those 2 guys who are both lottery tickets, but all you need is kind of one of them to pop. And all of a sudden you have this all-world guy in your defense that was already the best in the league last year. And you just added him for kind of nothing. Yeah. No. It was such a intelligent, cost-effective move for this team.
Jade Barron, they get in round 1, too. Awesome player out of Texas. They don't even need some of these guys on defense. They they already have a good defense.
Right, exactly. And then you add the fact that, wide receiver 2 is a bit of a dart throw as far as who's going to emerge there. But I like all these guys. I just can't anticipate Troy Franklin dropping every single pass that Bo Nix throws his way 2 years in a row after the chemistry that they had
in Oregon. Yeah.
Right. You bring in Pat Bryant, who I thought was incredible last year at Illinois. I thought he was truly integral to that offense. And then you have Marvin Mims, who apparently they're raving about as being more than just a gadget guy. And I think at times last year showed that he was more than just a gadget guy. I think
I like him.
Perhaps he is an NFL wide receiver. Despite the narrative suggesting otherwise, I think Mims has a chance to actually be like a guy.
Good, yeah.
Yeah, in this league. And then even just bringing in a guy like Evan Ingram, I think that could be really integral for Bo Nix on third down. He loved Terrence Ferguson during his tenure at Oregon. He has like a similar buildup as T. Ferg is liking that middle of the field, going up the seam and whatnot. So I like Ingram as a pass catcher. I think they have the tools. And as I mentioned a few segments ago, Javonte Williams was literally horrific. So just taking him out, bringing in R.J. Harvey, J.K. Dobbins is in the building as well. Estime year 2. Just by pure committee, I think one of those guys, again, can kind of figure it out and take the reins of that backfield.
Yeah. If just one of those guys pops, it's behind that offensive line. I mean, we're not talking about fantasy football options here, but one of those guys, if they emerge as the 3, I mean, I obviously like R.J. Harvey. And Sean Payton just kind of does this at times where he has 3 backs that he likes heading into a year. Remember that one year with the Saints, they had Mark Ingram, Jamal Williams, and Alvin Kamara. And I was like, oh, they got 3 good backs.
Right.
So Sean Payton always kind of has a committee, and maybe one guy emerges and takes that role. But behind that offensive line, that offense is going to be good. I mean, remember Bo Nix improved at the end of last year. A lot of easy completions. Yeah, I like the O-line. And defensively, they didn't even have to really improve because they were already good last year, but they actually added guys you mentioned the Greenlaw and Hufanga moves. That was all because San Francisco literally couldn't keep all their players. I mean, I don't think they wanted to get rid of those guys. It wasn't that those guys were like, oh, they're not good anymore, we have to get rid of them. It was because San Francisco literally had to extend guys like Brock Purdy and maybe this Juwan Jennings thing. So they literally had to let guys go. It's something the Dolphins did a couple years ago. The Bills did it a couple years ago. When you're spending when you're aging, you have to spend money. You have to free some up. So you have to cut some guys that you don't want to cut. And then Hufanga and Greenlaw just made their way to a perfect team that they just that's a perfect fit for Denver. So they're definitely a sleeping giant in the AFC. If Bo Nix takes a year 2 leap, then we're talking about an AFC contender for a Super Bowl.
Yeah, a legit contender.
That's
not
not
even mention a guy like Alex Singleton who missed all of last season. They just bring him back. This defense is absurd. So if they can just be a top half of the league offense, which I think they're totally capable of, all of a sudden, this isn't just a cute story anymore. This is a legit, borderline Super Bowl contender.
No, I like both of those picks. I think Tampa Bay, easy division. Denver, not easy division, but I think Denver overall has a loaded roster. And the AFC is a little weird. I was looking at the AFC a couple weeks ago. I only like 6 teams in the AFC. I couldn't even find a 7th team I liked in the AFC playoffs. I was after 6, I'm I'm kind of good. I'm over the 7th spot. So I honestly, no, I didn't even like 6 because I think I put Houston in one of those 6. I don't even like Houston. So I think I have 5 teams in the AFC. So you can take your pick with the other 2 teams in the AFC. So there's going to be some weird playoff teams in the AFC this year. The Colts won't be one of those teams, but I don't want to mention them again. But yeah, I think Denver is pretty poised to, if they have the offense we think they're going to have, they'll be right there in the end.
Right. No, for sure. And we're going to keep the train moving here. I love this category as well. The rookie your casual friends will ask if you've heard of in the middle of the season. This is the thing that happens every year. Not all our friends watch college football. There's always a guy that plays on Sundays that they're like, hey, have you heard of this guy? And we're like, yeah.
We've heard of him.
We most definitely have. So who did you have for this one?
I feel like I'm cheating doing this, but I think is Tyler Warren, is that too easy of a take here? If you don't watch college football, you might not know who Tyler Warren is. If you do, it's the most obvious answer ever. Of course, everyone knows it. But of the casual observer, if you're watching Colts games on an embarrassing Thursday night prime video game,
well, they won't be in our quad box though. So how are we supposed to watch them?
They won't be in our quad box. For our casual friends, it might be in their quad boxes.
Okay.
And maybe if we're subjected to watch a Thursday night Amazon Prime Colts game, then and he catches 6 balls in the first drive, I get a text from my buddy saying, "Yo, this Tyler Warren guy, you heard of him?" I'm like, "Yeah, I've heard of him. I watch college football." Maybe the casual friend doesn't. But Tyler Warren is not a guy who got any draft hype. Even if you're a draft guy like that, you probably were thinking about the quarterbacks of the class, Shador, those guys, whatever, receivers, pass rushers, whatever. So Tyler Warren, the Colts are bad, so it's not like a trendy team that anyone's watching either. but he might just be the only guy that catches passes on their team. I know that in the preseason game that Richardson got hurt in, the first Colts drive was like 5 straight catches for Tyler Warren, or like 5 straight targets. I think he got 4 balls in the first drive. It was just like, hey, here's our shiny new first round pick. We're gonna throw balls to him. Watch him. But that might be the Colts this year. The Colts might be just like, hey, we need butts and seats. We're gonna target our first round premier tight end. That's what we're gonna do. He might just break the reception record if Daniel Jones can get him the ball. So I'm gonna go Tyler Warren because I love Tyler Warren. Maybe the casual observer won't watch much Tyler Warren. Maybe they won't watch much Colts, but that's a little bit of a cheating answer there because he's a first round pick. It's not like a third rounder that no one's heard of that kind of busts onto the scene. But I'm gonna go Tyler Warren here, another Colt to kind of stay with the theme.
Yeah, I went a little deeper in the bag with a guy that we both adore, Aguiar on Tennessee.
Yes.
And he kind of ties into what I was talking about earlier as far as like a team that can make a leap. I think Elick could be a part of that. He was a guy at Stanford who just popped off the screen. I was watching Stanford Cardinal games just for
religiously
him, really.
Oh,
and
okay,
just for him. There was really no other reason to watch them.
No.
He was that talented. He infamously kind of torched Travis
Hunter. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He had a game, one of the most impressive games I've seen in recent memory, where he just kind of single-handedly beat Syracuse last year.
Yeah.
That was incredible. Elick is this big-body guy. He's got just a whiff of A.J. Green in him. Just a whiff. And there's this thing with him where he just kind of makes every single catch.
Yeah.
Like every single one. There is not any catch too difficult for him. And he's got great size to him. He's got good speed. He's got just tremendous ball skills. And it came out today that he's their wide receiver too. It's him and Ridley starting for Tennessee. So I think, if you're reading the reports, this is a name that won't be surprising. But if you're a casual observer and Tennessee kind of is sneaky like I think they will be,
right,
and you watch a game and you're like, wow, who's this guy? Like this whiff of A.J. Green. He's got something to him. I think he really has long-term Pro Bowl potential. I'm not expecting that in year one, obviously, as a rookie. No. But I expect him to just make enough like highlight wow plays that appears on your X feed, and you're like, okay, this guy's a baller. Like I think people will be infatuated with him in a way that like spans from deep dynasty leagues to like casual fantasy guys looking to pick someone up on the waiver wire in week 2. Like, I think he really could span all of that. I think he has that high of potential.
Upside. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
No, I'm with you. And then you bring up Stanford. I think as a casual observer, Stanford's a perfect team to bring up because no one watched them last year. No one watched them really the last 2 years.
Right.
Outside of that game against Colorado 2 years ago. But no one really watched the Stanford Cardinals. So even if you're a casual college football fan, you maybe don't know too much about Aguiar and Stanford because you didn't watch much Stanford. You maybe didn't stay up to watch them out in Palo Alto. But
Mike, even if you're undeniable, right? You're Andrew Lucks of the world, and they were winning a lot of games at that point. I think if you're a West Coast team that is kind of in the dumps, and you're a standout on that team, I think you get underdrafted. I think it's just what happens. I think it's a natural bias that occurs, and I think Elick was underdrafted. I think he was a legit round 2 or 3 guy that was underdrafted because he played on a team that no one cared about, and it was kind of hard for him to pop with a quarterback who was far more talented at running around and just trying to make ridiculous plays with his legs than being a natural thrower of the football. I wonder where he ended up. But anyway.
That's a much better one than Tyler Warren. I'm gonna go cheeky first round pick that everyone should already have heard of, but maybe the casual observers don't. And like I said, we don't have the Colts on our quad box anywhere, but maybe we watched some. Hey, I like that we both went AFC South teams again. We're by the way steady AFC South episode with the Titans, the Jags, and the Colts. We're talking about a lot of AFC South teams today.
This episode's going to be massive in Indianapolis.
Yeah, it is. Oh my gosh, the Midwestern teams, or I guess it's just Indianapolis, are going to love us there, or maybe hate us. So should we go to the guy we might need to have a referendum about, the alleged awesome player that we might have to start talking about? I think are you going to go back to the desert for this one, or?
This is a tough one for me because I think a lot of times when a guy's awesome in the NFL, it's kind of hard to be like, yeah, but is he? Is he awesome? Right. It's not really basketball where you can truly stat pad much easier.
Yes.
The NFL, it's much harder to be consistent week in and week out. But that's why I'm kind of doing a different approach to this. I have Marvin Harrison Jr., as you alluded to.
Oh.
And I've heard a lot of things about Marvin Harrison Jr. the last few months. Like, there's kind of this revisionist history with him all of a sudden where he was an underachiever as a rookie.
Yes.
But now the narrative is that he was, like, never that good to begin with. And I think that's maybe a bit too harsh.
Maybe
like,
we're going too far up. Yeah.
Maserati Marv was lighting it up at Ohio State. He was truly a specimen. He did pop off the television as like, wow, this guy is the next of this lineage of great Ohio State wide receivers.
Yeah.
Did he get overdrafted because of his last name? Probably. I think there was a lot of heat this offseason where there was a lot of guys like, look, Brian Thomas Jr. was always better, but Marvin Harrison had the last name value. He had the team value. Part of that could be true, but I think when it's all said and done, if you watch this tape at Ohio State, he was this prototypical guy.
Yeah.
And sure, the lineage helps, but at the end of the day, I don't think you're getting a nepotism draft pick at 4th overall.
Not a number 4 overall. No.
I just don't think that's happening. So with Marv, I think it was more concerning for me watching him at the NFL level, where he wasn't creating separation at all. There was a lot of weeks last year where at the end of the week he was bottom in average separation per route run.
Yeah.
And now he puts on all this weight, and there's
I was just about to ask that. Yeah. Is that good to put on all the weight? I was just about to ask that.
There's all this concern about all the weight he put on. And look, is it good or bad? I don't know. But I know this. He needs to be a lot more shiftier at the point of attack.
Yes.
I think that was a true problem last year. He's a route runner similar to how I thought about Jerry Jeudy when I was watching him coming out of Bama.
Yes.
Where Jeudy is a flawless route runner, but he's flawless at those routes that take like 4 seconds to develop. Where
plays over. Yeah.
Yes. And I think that's why Jeudy struggled so much in Denver. And I think last year with a quarterback like Jameis, who was just willing to like hold out in the pocket and just chuck it up. Like, yeah, you're going to have those long breaking routes that eventually develop and you can excel.
Yeah.
But with Harrison, I think that happened with Kyler at points where Kyler was able to run around and find Harrison. But I think he just has to be far more deliberate, immediate in the route. Because I think if he can't create separation off the line and he's just this kind of gimmick guy that takes a little while to develop him getting open, where's your place in the league? You're not a first-round pick. You're not a
number 4 overall.
You're not even close to that, really.
Maybe we're approaching the B word, which we don't want to use, the bust word. if that's what he is, then
no, I think that's fair. And I think, look, it's not necessarily a make-or-break year, but when you're drafted that high at a premium position on a team that kind of needs to take a step forward once and for all, if he fails to kind of put it together, it's a bit harsh, but at this point, like, hey man, like, you kind of have to show up here.
Yeah, no, I don't mind that one at all. I mean, that's not even that's by the way, that's a draft class in which it wasn't just Brian Thomas Jr. He went ahead of. He went ahead of Malik Neighbors, another LSU guy. He went ahead of Roma Dunze, who obviously we talked about Penix earlier. He was awesome. So yeah, that's a big year for him. I went with Jordan Love. I just can't. I mean, look, this feels like a quarterback award to me as far as a guy that we have like a panic attack about eight weeks into the season. It's like, wait, is this guy any good? Like, are we sure we just crowned him too early? And I say we. I don't think Jordan Love is like this, Super Bowl level quarterback that like people on TV do. He had like a 6-game stretch in 2023 of like good football, like pretty good football. He actually didn't turn the ball over too much, played efficient, still kind of at times just kind of patted around the ball and kind of just tap danced around in the pocket. Threw off his back foot for no reason. But it worked. For like 6 games, it worked. And after Thanksgiving, I think it was a Thanksgiving game against the Lions where he played really well against that Lions defense that was not any good. And then took off the rest of the year. Last 6 games, he was good. Whatever. Got him into the playoffs like a 9 seed, and they beat Dallas, who also was on a good defense that year. So it was fine. But then everyone said, oh, we're crowning him now. He's like the NFC's cream of the crop quarterback, where I don't ever think he's once been better than Stafford. I don't think he's been better than Goff, really. Some of these guys that are just better than him, flat out. Yeah, Baker. If you're into Jalen Hurts, whatever. But those guys,
not my cup of tea. But yeah,
heck, Jaden, not my cup of tea. Jaden Daniels last year had an awesome year, better than anything we've seen out of Jordan Love in the 2.5 years he played football. So I'm just not really into Jordan Love like that. People are, but hey, if we're in week 8 and Jordan Love is once again holding back a pretty awesome roster, the roster's pretty good. and say he's like once again completing 50% of his passes and turning the ball over 2 times. It's like that's not really what we like. If there's another game, he had some stat lines last year against his NFC North counterparts in Minnesota and Detroit, where there was like it's like ugh, you know, against Chicago, he had a couple weird stat lines. I'm like, we need to see a little bit more than this. If this is like the guy that we all thought we were going to get here after Aaron Rodgers, we had that 6-game stretch in late 2023, and then the playoff win, like it's got to be better than this. And you mentioned Marv, but quarterback's such a spotlight award. Love wasn't the number 4 overall pick, but he's the he's the guy after Aaron Rodgers, you know, in Green Bay, and it's his title town, you know. And they just brought in Micah Parsons, so the spotlight is all on the quarterback suddenly. Can you get it done in the NFC, which is kind of wide open? Obviously, we like Philly, we like Denver, we like Detroit. We like Detroit and Philly. Some other teams we can throw in there, Rams, Bucks, whatever. But the Packers are right up there too, and it comes down to the quarterback play. If he's not good, we're going to be having a referendum about this allegedly awesome player. Tannenbaum's on TV saying he's the best quarterback in the NFL, not named Patrick Mahomes. It's like, well, hold on a second here.
Yeah,
like,
I think that's the problem. Like, there's
yeah.
this disconnect with me and you clearly in this kind of national media perception with where he is right now. Like, I think he's like a total middle of the pack guy. Like, I really do. And there's this perception that like he's a Super Bowl level talent based off literally what? I just don't understand where this is coming from.
I'm trying to figure it out as well. I think the one playoff game against Dallas when they scored 40 points and Dak Prescott threw a pick six right before halftime and they kind of just lit up that Cowboys defense.
Yeah.
It's lasting in people's minds way more than it should in a wild card game. I mean,
and it's the logo.
It's also the logo, yes. But, I mean, heck, the day of that game, or maybe the day before that game, we saw another awesome wild card game, and Trevor Lawrence came back and won that. I don't think anyone really talked about that game as much as far as like why Trevor Lawrence is supposed to be good. He won a playoff game against the Chargers where he threw 5 picks, whatever. Jordan Love won a playoff game the very next day, and people love Jordan Love, no pun intended. And I don't think Trevor's been, good either to justify, whatever his ranking is in the league. But I think both those guys are middle of the pack guys at the moment. Maybe Trevor a little bit below average because he hasn't really proven anything. But I mean, hey, they both have one playoff win against teams. I mean, that Brandon Staley defense wasn't any good. That Dallas defense wasn't any good. So what are we talking about here? They both have one playoff win, but Jordan Love is not this NFL Super Bowl caliber quarterback based off of one playoff win. He kind of pissed down his leg the next week in San Francisco, throwing.
He blew them the game.
He blew them the game.
Won that game. Yeah,
That was a very winnable game. I mean, their defense kept them in it with Brock Purdy making some mistakes. Like they were in that game, and then last year was like an up and down. I get he got hurt week 1 in Sao Paulo in Brazil, weird field conditions, but he never really looked good at all last year. Maybe out of a couple games against like Panera Bread teams like in the NFL.
No, and I understand look, Jaden Reed and Dontavian Wicks, the latter in particular, can't really
Romeo
catch for some reason. Yeah. But it's more than that. It really is. Like if you watch his decision making, it's fine, it's adequate, but there's just not this special quality to him that people really seem to think is there. Like he has a theoretical big arm that I don't think plays as much as people suggest it does. That's all. Like he kind of looks like the guy on paper, but if you actually watch him, he doesn't really play like that.
No,
I think is the problem.
And I'm not a big box score watchers guy, but after some games, you'll be like, wait, was Jordan Love as bad as I thought he was? And then you look at the spotlight, it's like, yeah, he wasn't really that good. It's like it backs up kind of sometimes what I'm seeing on the field, where it's like he completed how many percent of his passes? Like he only completed 11 passes this game. He was inefficient again. He didn't really make any big time throws in this game. It's like, yeah, okay, well that all kind of checks out. And sometimes that just kind of happens, and then we give him a pass because it was like, oh well, who's his true number 1 receiver? This year they have Matthew Golden. They dropped him around. They don't ever draft round 1 receivers. Now they're doing that for Jordan Love. So we'll see. But this is a guy that, yeah, we might need to have a referendum. If Green Bay, right now all the hype is on Green Bay, rightly so because of Micah Parsons. But there's also a quarterback on their team that might need to be talked about. If this is a team that does not live up to expectations, then who are we going to talk about? Not Micah Parsons, because that was a trade that you expect to make to improve your roster. It's going to be the quarterback most likely. If that is the reason that they get held back. Right.
And Mike, we're at that time. We have one more after this, but this is truly the highlight of the show here.
This is the main event, not the co-main. This is the main event right here.
This is the first annual 2007 Megan Fox. Oh my God, you just came out of nowhere. Now you're the talk of the world person. This is a tough category. It is incredibly hard to anticipate. I can only imagine people walking into the theaters in 2007 to watch Transformers and leaving
It changed their
and
lives.
just frantically Googling
Who
is Megan Fox.
In 2007.
I'm sure she broke the internet that day. And we might break the internet today with some of these picks. So, Mike, I know this was a tough one to come up with because, naturally it's hard to just picture someone ascending to this kind of level.
Yes. Like,
but I know you were able to do it. Yeah. This is like literally becoming a megastar overnight.
Okay. So I took someone who was already pretty good, and I think they're going to become maybe the face of football. And we're talking about Bucky Irving. Bucky Irving. I'm going with a running back. I know. This guy could be on the cover of Madden.
Oh my God!
I know. This is ridiculous. I'm totally with you. A running back for the 2007 Megan Fox Award. Are we serious? I'm gonna go with Bucky Irving behind that offensive line. I think he can rush for. I mean, talk about Saquon had an awesome year last year. Put that to the side. Bucky Irving's breaking every record. Okay. This is a clickbaity answer here for sure. But I think half kidding, but seriously though, I think Bucky Irving is going to be a megastar. Like, seriously, I think he's going to be a star. I don't know if he'll be, 2007 Megan Fox, but we're kind of projecting here. If Tampa Bay is as good as I think they're going to be, and I think Bucky Irving, if he's as good as I think he's going to be, I have a ticket on Bucky Irving winning Offensive Player of the Year. Is that stupid? Maybe that is stupid. I don't know. Maybe it is. It could be very, very off. I know Jamar Chase is like the favorite or whatever, Saquon or those guys. I like Bucky Irving on a possible 13-win team to lead the league in scrimmage yards. Am I crazy? Probably. Yeah.
I'm not going to be the one to tell you no on that.
No, I'm Bucky Irving. Yeah, we're going to sip too much Kool-Aid here.
Bucky Irving, one of my favorite athletes of all time.
Ever.
Met him at a dentist's office. I had a toothache. He was just there, presumably. He fell asleep, literally inches away from me, and then one of the receptionists came over and tapped him. Bucky. I think she would do the same thing with Mike because Mike is kind of dreaming a little bit right now, but I do like the effort here, and I like the projection.
Okay, on a serious note, though, who is your pick?
Same vein. Again, all of these are going to be outlandish, right? They have to be outlandish.
Have to be outlandish because, yeah.
It has to be this perception.
You can't go Bijan Robinson for this award.
No, it has to be this perception of this guy, most people might kind of, sort of know, not really, and then all of a sudden everyone can't stop talking about them. That's the kind of level of media attention they're going to have at the end of the year. And so we both mentioned off air that there's not really a good quarterback option for this. And Sam Darnold would have also won this award last year unanimously.
Yes, he would have. He would have won 2 awards.
There's not really a good option, at least that we could find.
Not right now.
So I also had to go to a sophomore, this time a wide receiver. I'm going Rome Odunze.
I love this. Okay.
The logic is incredibly simple. Caleb Williams has had the worst offseason I can remember from a perception standpoint in recent memory.
Yeah.
Everything out of Bears camp is how terrible he's been. He's yelling at nets. He is getting escorted off the field by his new coach, Ben Johnson, because he physically cannot remember offensive plays. He's gaffing on the field when he is on it, throwing careless interceptions to the defense that is solid but not incredible. I'm not buying it, okay? I watched this guy too much in college.
Thank you.
And look, do I think he's going to be the second coming? No, not necessarily. But I still think he's way too talented to not be a above-average NFL quarterback.
Yeah.
So, one way he can do that is by throwing the ball a lot to Rome Odunze, who kind of had a forgettable rookie campaign last year. It was nothing special. But coming out of Washington, he was the one of the trio of him, McMillan, and my good friend Jalen Polk, who I thought by far was going to take the NFL by storm, because I think prototypical size, he has this kind of Vincent Jackson ability of just kind of being able to jump over defenders because of his height and his leaping ability, and his way he high points the ball is so incredible, especially when it's 50-50 and it's just kind of lobbed up to him. He just plucks it out of the air. But I think he's more than that too. I think he is a good route runner. I think he can work underneath. I think there's something there with Rome Odunze where if everything goes right, if Loveland can be that tight end that I think he can be,
Yes.
If DJ Moore is still kind of this in and out of the slot, just
If he's
shooting up
engaged.
yards,
Yeah,
underneath, and he's engaged. I think Adunze has the highest ceiling as far as the skill position players on the Bears to just kind of truly pop, like explode production-wise. He's my guy, and in the same breath, I have a ridiculous out-of-nowhere answer that is totally kidding, but I needed one that was like plus 500,000 odds.
Was Bucky Irving not plus 500,000?
Just because. No, Bucky Irving, I think last year, if you
good.
think about it, like the difference between when White was in the backfield to Irving, like.
It was like the second coming. It was.
Oh, my God. Because with White, they were the worst rushing EPA team in the league, but like by far, he was so inefficient. With Irving, they were top 5. He obviously didn't play the whole season.
Changed the run game whenever he came in.
He completely changed the entire team. So I think that's like a very realistic answer. I just think he's like so popular that I didn't want to do it. And he's my guy. I didn't want to be a homer. But
I'm not talking about Rome Odunze either, by the way. Before you get into the plus 500,000 one, I like Rome a lot. Yeah. And I think if I don't buy the stuff out of camp either. I think I've watched too much Caleb Williams. And
I buy that it happened. I don't buy that it matters.
I don't buy that it matters either. I just think Ben Johnson's too clever. I've watched enough Ben Johnson over the years at Detroit. Now, I don't know how that marriage will go with Caleb Williams, but I just think that I saw him beat Brian Flores' defense twice last year. I think that matters. And the Bears have some guys at skill position. They don't have the Lions guys as far as like maybe the top end guys that Detroit has. And up front, that Detroit has better players for sure. But I think that he can do things with Caleb Williams. And if Rome Odunze is as good as we think he is, and the Bears offense is as good as maybe it's propped up to be, possibly, in year 1 of Ben Johnson era and year 2 of Caleb Williams, then that's a very good pick. I think Rome Odunze, year 2 receiver jump is it's a real thing. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, he'll be up there.
You're gonna love this. So one of the teams that a lot of people have been circling this offseason is my beloved New England Patriots.
Okay.
They're a popular next step team.
Oh my God.
Drake May would be an easy answer for this category.
Is it not him?
No, it is not him. If you had to pick a guy on this team that became a household name, you'd pick Drake May. You pick Travion Henderson.
Oh, I know this is gonna. Oh, it's not Travion Henderson?
No, it's not either of these guys. I told you when we were doing this category, rookies were not allowed because that's kind of crazy.
Yes, correct.
Because people don't really know rookie. Like the NFL fan base and the college football fan base are two kind of different fan bases for the most part. Like, there's not as much crossover as people think. So, rookies becoming household names, that's too easy.
Yeah.
If this team's going to be good, and I mean this wholeheartedly, there's only one way. The passing attack needs to be above average, okay?
Oh my gosh.
It has to be above average. I told you this is like plus 500,000.
Oh my God.
I'm not saying this guy is going to be the face of the NFL. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying this guy might be able to muster out way more yardage than anyone truly expects, and he's a guy that I think actually showed some promise last year in this offense. It's Kayshon Boutte, who has had an awesome camp. From a lot of people here in New England, they said he showed a lot of flashes in camp. I think last year, in a terrible New England Patriots offense, led by Alex Van Pelt,
it was such a
Kayshon Boutte actually was one of the only people on the entire team that showed some promise. Pop Douglas was terrible. He was kind of the darling of the team heading into that season. Boutte thoroughly outplayed him by the end of the year. Now look, Boutte is in a wide receiver core with Stephon Diggs. Who knows what happens there? Pop Douglas, who everyone's raving about again,
second year in a row.
He's going to be this kind of slot demon. Okay, fine. And then you have like Kyle Williams, who was drafted highly by this team, who they have high expectations for as like a prototypical X wide receiver. They have Matt Collins, who will be there for weird social media content and doing dirty work.
Speed. Yeah.
But Boutte is supposed to be a starter on this team. And him and May had real rapport. He's kind of the only guy that May had real rapport with last year. I'm not saying he's going to be on All-Pro. I'm not saying he's going to be a Pro Bowler. That's why this is kind of plus 500,000 or whatever.
Very good.
This is a guy that can go from like no one really knows who this is to like this guy's like legit fantasy relevant. Like he's like a sub notch or two below being like a Pro Bowler. He's like claimed in 40-50% of leagues. Like that's how relevant.
That's a legitimate no. Yeah.
So it's cheating a bit because it's not really being Megan Fox. It's more being like
in
like Charlie D'Amelio who started TikTok. Like,
yes,
like,
relevant is the big thing here.
Yeah. But I think he can become like super relevant to like the diehard football fan, where right now he is on absolutely no one's brain.
Not life-changing, which is what 2007 Megan Fox would be.
No,
but
that would be Roma Dunze.
Yes,
or
that
Bucky
would be
Irving.
100%, no doubt about it. I am shocked you went Booty. I really thought you were going to go Drake May. I'm shocked you didn't go Drake May.
Drake
I thought it was like a silver player.
It's the easy answer.
Easy answer. Yeah, so you went in the weeds for that one, and you went in the weeds for Alec Imanner too. So credit to those for sure. But overall, that's an awesome award. We might have a different answer on this award at the end of September, if I had to guess.
We might have to revisit this award. This could be like an annual. We're just checking up on
check up on Megan Fox
week one. We're like, okay, who's in the lead for the Megan Fox?
Remember, Darnold was in the lead for most of the year last year in this award. It wasn't an award last year, but had it been an award, he would have been the front runner basically the entire year. So
I think he's Darnold 2 belts. He has this belt for sure.
He had this belt. Yeah, he's gonna have to give it up to somebody. Obviously in the
it's
annual.
Gonna be week one, and we're gonna be like, oh my god, Mason Tipton has the belt, man. Like, this is incredible. He just had 100 yards.
Does Darnold keep it with him in Seattle? Does he give it to somebody on Seattle? Maybe he gives it to someone on his own team in Seattle there. Maybe he just kind of passes it around like it's a badge of honor. But I love the Roma Dunze shout. I can't lie. I think that's a very good shout. I thought you were gonna go like Bill Crosby. I they're gonna go like Bill Crosby. Oh, it's a rookie, so you can't go Bill Crosby.
No.
But they're gonna go like way off the map of like a trendy fantasy guy that's all the gurus. No pun intended.
No, I'm not there yet with like I'm trying to think. I have some of these guys like the Damian Pierce resurgence. I'm like kind of like thumbs down on that one. Stuff like that. I'm kind of out on.
I'm okay on that one. Yeah.
But I'm excited to see how this ends up. We'll keep tabs on this.
This is an award we'll have to take. We'll have to look at this one again because we'll have different answers by early season. I would have to. So.
For sure.
Oh, it's this guy. He's actually the one that's the award. It's like, how do we not see this one? It'll be someone, but we'll check up on it at some point in September, I guess.
And Mike, there's only one way to end this kind of podcast. It's
Correct.
So cliche, but it has to be done.
Yeah.
It is the most likely Super Bowl matchup. We don't have to spend a ton of time on it because I think it gets so boring so early because the NFL, it's such an ever-changing landscape. Players go down, players emerge. That's what makes it fun. I always do the preseason Super Bowl picks. I've been incredibly accurate in recent years, but it's something that's like, you have to do it. It's not fun, but, you kind of have to do it. So.
Well, it could be fun, but depending on how
It could be, yeah.
Yeah.
Mine's not, but it could be.
I don't think mine is either. I mean, look, we kind of know who's good. We don't have to,
Right.
Like you said, like we know in the AFC, if your answer in the AFC is not Baltimore, Buffalo, or Kansas City, it must be Denver. But it has to be one of those three teams, realistically, probably. I mean, it's been those three teams in the end for the last few years. It's been.
If it's not one of those 3.5 teams, I think you're insane. I'm not.
My jaw would be on the floor. I'd be like, wait, Joe Burrow dragged what to the Super Bowl again? I would be befuddled. So I think it's going to be one of those three teams, and it has been Kansas City the last 3 years, which has been the thorn in the side of Baltimore and Buffalo. Those two teams are just so good to have not gotten to a Super Bowl yet. They're still knocking on the door. I'm going to go Kansas City again. Sorry, boring. Sorry, Buffalo. Sorry, Baltimore. I'm going to go Kansas City for the 4th time in a row. The last time Kansas City.
Oh my God!
The last time Kansas City did not make the Super Bowl was it still Joe Biden in office? Was it 2021? Yeah, Bengals.
Yeah.
Bengals won the Super Bowl. Okay, yeah.
Mike,
so 2021
yeah.
was the last time it's happened. So I'm going to go Chiefs again out of the AFC. I think Baltimore's right there. I think Buffalo's right there. Ultimately, I lean Spags and Andy Reid when the game is close late until proven otherwise. And in the NFC, I had the Lions at first. Obviously, people are now revising their picks to the Packers because of Micah Parsons. I'm not going to do that. I still like the Lions. Ultimately, can I get on board with a team that lost both their coordinators? I don't know. I think that the defense being overall healthy again is probably a little bit more important. So I like Detroit. I almost want to go frisky and go Bucks and just go full Buccaneers.
Ooh.
Buccaneers, Chiefs. By the way, ironically enough, the Chiefs only play teams that they've already played before in the Super Bowl. So they only play rematches. They played Philly twice now in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
They played the Niners twice in the Super Bowl. So they need to play another team that they've already played again in the Super Bowl. So I'm going to go
Tampa,
Chiefs,
yeah.
and I have to go one frisky one out of nowhere. This isn't totally out of nowhere because they're going to win the South. But I'm going to go Chiefs, Buccaneers in San Francisco for Super Bowl 60, the Bake Show against Patty Mahomes for old time's sake, Texas Tech, Oklahoma. We watched that game when it was 72-60 and home through 90 times, and it was an arcade video game type of game. I'm gonna go one last two-rod. Travis Kelce wins the Super Bowl, and then on the stage. Well, actually, he already engaged to Taylor Swift, so I don't want to make it a fantasy land here. But I think Travis Kelce goes out on top with his final Super Bowl trophy, retires right after the game, and wins it. And the Chiefs, once again, I have winning the Super Bowl. And it's not the most likely Super Bowl. So to answer the question, the most likely Super Bowl is Chiefs-Eagles. But I'm going to go Chiefs-Bucks.
Yeah, I'm on the other end of this. I'm going Eagles-Bills. I think it's – look, Josh Allen has to make one, right? Like, just one. Even if it's only this one, he has to make one eventually. And then to me, it's not just because they won the title, but Philly to me is just so clearly a notch or two above everyone else.
Prohibited favorites in the NFC.
And they were seriously on the ropes in that Rams game.
Yeah.
And I think if they lost that, Sirianni could have been canned, and we're looking at this totally differently.
Hurts tried to get that game away, by the way.
He tried so hard, and then he has the game of his life in the Super Bowl, and that kind of changes the entire narrative.
Changes the way we talk about it, yeah.
And so that's why I'm a little worried, because I'm like, did one game where Matthew Stafford really didn't have like his entire offensive line in front of him?
No, he did not.
Where he brought them to the brink on the road.
They fumbled twice. Kyron Williams couldn't hold on the ball. Like it was a blizzard, and they kept fumbling all over the place.
Right. They were 12 yards away from winning the game at one point. Am I kind of overlooking that in this notion in my head that Philly is just so clearly better than everyone else? But I just can't unsee it right now.
Yeah, the roster's
and there's ways it goes south. I know neither of us are big Hurts guys, and we're not going to do the soapbox. He's a top 5 quarterback malarkey that has made the rounds the last few weeks.
Yeah, we're not.
And there's always the A.J. Brown kind of head case diva wide receiver. Like, is he going to want to go back, play with Mike Vrabel maybe? Who knows where he wants to go? And then just kind of the whole Sirianni experience of, like, that guy just kind of is all over the map sometimes. But I'm going to go Eagles, Bills. If I had to choose a winner, I'd say the Eagles repeat. That is so boring. I'm aware.
Really?
But as I always say with predictions, this is not March Madness.
This is not March Madness.
Too often the boring thing happens, and that's why I'm decently good at these kind of things, because
we know there's a pool of 5 or 6 teams that can do this. And that's why at the end, we're not going to look stupid, because if we pick Chiefs, Ravens, or Bills, at the end of the year, we're going to be like, hey, yeah, I mean, we were pretty close, or we were right on the money.
Right, they lost to one of the other teams. So
exactly, they lost to the other team that we were considering. So, yeah, of course. So,
the only other team that we haven't mentioned, like, outside of the bubble that I think could be in it, and I just alluded to it, is that Rams team if Stafford can be healthy. And I think
100%.
that's a big if.
It's a big
I
ask.
think
yeah.
they have a chance to be fantastic if the offensive line could stay healthy, if Stafford can stay healthy. Last year, the O-line deterioration really cost them.
They lost everybody.
Maybe a Super Bowl, to be honest, because I think they would have been a really tough matchup for the Chiefs. And I think there's
because of their front four. With their front four.
They would have beat Washington as well, kind of handily, in my opinion.
Yes.
So there's a chance where that offensive line deterioration cost them a ring. So if they can line up in the trenches and kind of get that back on track, Stafford is so good. It's unbelievable, especially in games that really matter.
Yes.
He kind of does the rope-a-dope veteran thing where, like, catch him in week 4. You're like, Stafford.
Week 4, it's like, oh, he did nothing in that game. It's like, okay, who cares? Yeah.
He's looked better. And then you see him in, like, week 14, and you're like, this guy is a clear top 5 quarterback. And I tend to default to the latter, where he's just more in that area than he's not in games.
In the playoff game, who would you rather have, Stafford or the field in the NFC? Like, just for one game. It's tough to say anyone in the NFC still. I know
with all the pieces intact, I would say Stafford. But if the offensive line's even like half beat up, it just worries me because of his back and because of like how susceptible they were last season to pressure up the middle. That was a real problem, especially in that Philly game, was that interior.
Jalen Carter.
And then I would take the field. I think Baker, Daniels,
Goff, maybe, for into that kind of thing. If he gets a dome game,
if you include the weapons, Hurts just because he doesn't really need to do anything. Goff, I think Goff is is fair. Yeah, he's like in the periphery. He's a guy that like.
Are we into Brocktober and here in Brock Purdy?
I want to see it this year. I want to see it without like by far the best roster in the NFL.
I considered throwing him on the. He needs a career year this year. I considered him on that award, but I think San Francisco's gonna be pretty good. San Francisco
he just got paid. That's the only thing. I mean, I guess Lawrence did get paid recently as well.
Yeah, but San Francisco has a very easy schedule.
Exactly. It's not only that, but I think San Francisco is clearly far more committed to Brock. Where I think even if Brock has a mediocre year, like even like last year, it wasn't that great. People were like, it was actually better than you thought. Like
it was better than you thought, considering everyone around him was
right. No, I think there is truth to it, but I think the willingness to do that means people like you.
Yes,
it's kind of that simple.
Correct.
Where no one's really going out on a limb like that for your Trevor Lawrences, your Kyler Murrays of the world.
No.
So, yeah, I think there's some truth to that.
Yeah, I think the Rams are an interesting pick, though. They're the one wild card team with the asterisk of Stafford's health, because I actually think Davante Adams, again, the Jets were so embarrassing last year. I had a buddy who's a Jets fan, he loved Davante Adams, and like 2 weeks in, he was like, oh, Davante Adams is washed. It's like, no, yeah. Now, I think he's better than Cooper Kupp, so I think overall you have now Davante Adams and Puka
clearly,
Nacua.
Yeah.
He's clearly better than Cooper Kupp. So I think if Stafford's healthy, he's got two guys that he's throwing the ball to now. That Puka's the number one, but Davante Adams not a very bad wide receiver too, even at his age. He got away from the circus that is the Jets and Aaron Rodgers. He got away from the circus that was the Raiders with Antonio Pierce and Josh McDaniels for that matter. So he's gotten away from all that nonsense. He's now with McVay and the Rams, where everyone seems to get better when they go there. I just asked Baker. He was there for 15 hours and improved his resume. So Davante Adams is now away from nonsense. He's back to where he's back in a functional organization. Stafford, if he's healthy, big asterisk. If the offensive line is healthy when they don't deteriorate in late September, early October like they did last year, the Rams are going to be there in the end. I think we haven't mentioned enough NFC North teams. I think Detroit's still good. I think Minnesota's still good. Packers are trendy. Bears are,
I'd be worried about them in 3 rounds. Or
yes,
two or
three straight rounds, of course, because the NFC North, it's such a tough division. They might all beat up on each other, and maybe they don't get that bye that the NFC North champion probably needs. It's just going to be a loaded division, so maybe you don't go 6-0 in the division like someone else might, and it costs you the number 1 seed. Then you got to play 3 straight rounds, and that's probably why the NFC North is a bloodbath. But I think the most likely Super Bowl probably is Eagles-Bills or Eagles-Chiefs or Eagles-Ravens. At least that's what the odds say right now.
Right. I think if health was like not a question at all, like we could guarantee health, I think I'd pick Rams-Bills. I think I'd stay with the Bills. I think I'd pick the Rams. I just think Stafford in a game against Jalen Hurts where one of them has to make a play, I'm just taking Stafford every single time. If I know he's on his 2 feet with just McVay and a offensive line in front of him that can give him enough time to make a play, which he didn't have last year, and he still almost got it done, which I think is just so integral to this conversation.
Would you not take, if everyone's healthy, Detroit? I think the roster's still right there with Philly. Their roster's really good. They improved the secondary last year. They bring in DJ Reed. Hutchinson was on pace for like 30 sacks.
I have 2 problems with Detroit.
Is it the 2 coordinators? Are the 2 problems?
Sure. That's one of them. That's one of them for sure. I think replacing both, who both got head coaching jobs, which indicates that someone thought they were pretty good, is a problem. My problems are this. I think Laporta could have been in the career year category. I think he was that ghostly last year. He was just nowhere to be found when they needed something.
At all, ever in the red zone. I was like, wait, where's Laporta?
He was getting Gronk comps at the end of his rookie season. And then last year, he was just a nothing.
No.
I think Amon-Ra, as great as he is, it's all in front of you. So he can have 18 catches, and it can be important, but it's not as necessarily dangerous as like a Chase takes the top off and has a 60-yard out-of-nowhere touchdown that completely changes the drive.
Yeah.
And I love Amon-Ra, and I think he's clearly a top 5, at worst, top 7, 8 wide receiver. Absolutely. But I think just his play style, and it's supposed to work next to a guy like Jameson Williams. This is the problem, is that Jameson Williams is feast or famine draft pick 1-1. Like, he is literally either 120 yards on 5 catches and 2 touchdowns, or he has 2 catches and You're looking up like he played today. Oh,
I didn't.
okay.
Yeah, it's literally
So-
1.3 points in fantasy or 29. It's like, oh, great week, bad week, great week, bad week. It's like I don't know. So yeah,
Right.
it's great for him. Yeah.
So I'd clump that all together, and then 2 would just be if a team can get to Goff a little bit, what does that look like? Like I think the Rams, especially with Verse, is such a freak. Like he can bend that edge so well, and
He could have been up for the
even
mega
like a
talk
Panay
board,
Sewell out there. Like good
Yeah.
luck, man. Like I don't care how good a tackle is. I'm taking the better edge rusher
Yes.
every time.
Yes.
So Philly, if they play Philly, like all the heads Philly has, like could they make life tough for him? It's just one of those, like, if he's pressured, I'm just simply worried about their ability to sustain with Goff under pressure. I know the stats have actually shown, by the way, that Goff is pretty decent under pressure. I'm fully aware of that.
He's been better than yes.
But what I don't think they show is how he looks under pressure when it really matters, which I think has been a totally different story throughout his career.
Like the divisional round last year. Yes.
Yes, I think that is a totally different story. Or even against the Bills, and the Bills were getting to him at points in that game.
Yeah. Or the Super Bowl in New England where he only put up 3 points. Under pressure,
Right.
big games. Because under pressure in general is its own thing.
He's actually pretty good. Yeah.
He started his career not good against the blitz. So just blitz him, he won't be good under pressure. Now it's under pressure, big moments. Of course, that's a big thing. I think overall, you get him in a dome. And I guess he lost in the dome last year in the playoff game. But Washington also just like didn't punt once again. So another weird Washington year where they just like pull off these games. But nonetheless, I think Goff, yes, he threw 4 picks in that game, no doubt about it. But I think if you ask me, Jalen Hurts or Jared Goff, if everyone's healthy, the Lions' offensive line is healthy. They're in Detroit in a dome. I think Goff could absolutely put on a show and outplay Jalen Hurts.
But what if it's Philly and it's like 28 degrees outside?
Then I give you a different answer probably. But
so it's really dependent on them getting that 1 seed.
They got to get that one. So they got it last year, and they needed it because of all the health injuries on defense. I almost just feel like, again, positive regression as far as their defense should stay healthier than it was last year. They should not lose Lee McNeil for the year. They should not lose obviously Aiden Hutchinson for the year. They lost a lot of guys for like extended time. It wasn't like they were out a week, 2 weeks. They lost guys for season-ending injuries. So it's hard to replace those guys when they're out a length amount of time that you can't come back from. So I think overall those guys can stay healthy and avoid season-ending injuries, and they're able to get in the playoffs. 1 seed or not, although it is pretty much dependent on playing in a dome. Because truth be told, I would much rather trust Stafford in a blizzard in the last year, as you saw, almost pull that off, than Jared Goff going into 28 degrees in Philly and it's snowing against that defensive line. So yeah, certainly the answer could dictate on where these games are played. If it's in sunny Tampa, I could see Jared Goff going down there and having a parade. So yeah, it's very dependent on the Lions and where they're at. But I think they're a playoff team. They still have an awesome roster. They have awesome players. So I wouldn't rule out the defending 2-time NFC North champions.
I think this is. People will say this is being hyperbolic and whatever. That's fine, and that it's a double-edged sword. But I just don't think it is. I think the Lions need to get over the hump this year, as far as at least making like another push to the NFC Championship game. Because I think if they don't, there's going to be this talk of their gimmick team, basically.
Yeah. Did they miss a window? Did a window kind of
right? Did the window close? Because I said that because like I picked the Bills, for example. But I think the difference is like Allen is excelling in these games. He is phenomenal in these playoff games. People act like he's not, which is kind of weird.
No, if you look at his playoff numbers, his playoff numbers are suggesting one of the best playoff quarterbacks ever. It's not like a Peyton Manning thing earlier in his career.
He's the second best playoff quarterback since entering the league. He just happens to be losing to the guy that's number one.
That's number one, and Patrick Mahomes. Yeah, it's not. People want to compare it to Peyton Brady because Peyton Manning had a tendency to be awesome regular season, then his numbers kind of dip in the playoffs. That is not what's going on with Josh Allen. This is not a Peyton Manning thing.
It's not that at all.
Honestly, the Peyton thing would probably cater more to Lamar. Although Lamar and Patrick haven't played enough. They've only played one time in the playoffs, so there isn't like a rivalry there yet. Whereas Peyton and Brady played every year. And Josh and Patrick feel like they play every year in the playoffs. Buffalo's always losing to that same team. They lost to Cincinnati one year. But it's basically just those. He's losing to number one quarterback every year. So eventually, if you beat that guy, you got to think 1 year you just get a break and you win. So
whereas the Lions, on the flip side, I think there was this notion of Dan Campbell before Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn that he was kind of this head case that couldn't get it done. So if they immediately leave and then they were 1 foot out the door last year anyway. which I think people were talking about when they lost that game against Washington.
But they were already doing job interviews on other teams, yeah.
Right. When those guys depart, and if you fall short again, then it's man in the mirror. And I understand where they were before Campbell got there and where they are now.
They were. Oh my gosh.
I totally understand that. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, Goff. When they acquired Goff, it was kind of this stopgap quarterback idea that he was just supposed to kind of make them like this mediocre playoff team.
Yeah, he'll be fine.
And he's far exceeded that. But now the expectations are different, and I think that's what people forget when teams are in this position. So. Yeah,
I thought when they brought him in, it'd be like an Alex Smith move, or Kansas City traded for Alex Smith from San Francisco. They were really bad. They won.
You thought Hendon Hooker was Mahomes?
Well, I didn't think it was Mahomes, but remember that Chiefs team was like 1-15.
I remember.
They traded for Alex Smith. They're like decent now. Then Lions are like 1-14-1, whatever they were. They trade for Jared Goff. They're okay, and then Jared Goff becomes like a Pro Bowler. So better than Alex Smith almost. You can argue. He's now the quarterback of the future. I don't think anyone in Detroit saw that coming when the trade happened. But nonetheless, I think we hit all the NFC teams pretty much. I think those are the teams that we'll see in the end. I think overall Philly is a safe answer. I want to go weird and go Bucks because I don't want to go Chiefs and Eagles again. I've seen it twice. I don't need to see it a third time. Even Eagles and Bills. I'll see it in late December. It'll be fun. I don't need to see it twice in 3 months. I'm good on that. I want to see somebody else from the NFC. I've seen Philly, San Francisco. Let's get Tampa Bay back in it for the second time this decade because we're just going to go.
Yeah. I think at this point, this was an incredible podcast. It was one of the best debuts you will ever see on any platform, anywhere. I am so excited to keep the Gurus alive. We will be doing this, who knows how often, but it's going to be decently often, and we're going to cover everything, as I said off the top, from the NFL, the NBA, college football, CBS reality television, music, whatever we feel like at any given time. There will be emergency pods. There will be scheduled pods. We will let you know when all that happens. But for now, I'm Xaiver Aguiar. That is Mike Testa. We are the Gurus. Be sure to like and subscribe on this video. Comment if you please. Join the revolution. We are here, and we will see you next time.